Hola, YouTube. Hello, all survivors of non-consensual human experimentation and those dealing with tyranny in all of our countries. This is Kyle. This your boy Kyle, aka Vulcan Wolverine. Some other check sound to the left side, like it's drilling in my head. But I always feel better, when I'm putting information out. Thank you for all the people coming into the chat, and hello, and I hope you're doing okay. I'm gonna get ready and open all my windows and everything. Tonight, let's see if I had some stuff I wanted to talk about what's been going on with me personally, but I think subconsciously I kind of want to stay away from that, about talking about like how I feel exactly, because y'all know how I feel. I feel like shit, and I'm isolated and stuff like that. And tonight is special. Tonight is a special night. It's Wednesday, January 30th. I know I go over a lot of the experimentation side with neuroweapons and directed energy weapon experimentation, and I kind of neglect gangstalking. And it's not on purpose, but it's just because my gang stalking has kind of gone down to just vehicular stalking, and then some random gang stalking around my condo because I drive everywhere in a car. It's mostly vehicular stalking, and it's kind of leveled out a little bit, I'd say. But gang stalking is very important. A lot of targeted individuals, that's one of the things that is causing the most trauma to them. So I compiled a lot of information in a bunch of different agencies that are involved in the gang stalking, and then got some YouTubers who do really good research, and I'm going to mirror some of their content and kind of just try and collate a lot of data so we can see a bigger picture and why it's so messed up. I mean, all this is messed up because it's governmental aid. Well, I'll talk about that later. Let me go ahead and get my screens up and stuff like that, and I'm gonna play a song. Oh yeah, I wanted to say all of my live streams, basically, except the James G. Adorno one, have been like demonetized, and I mean, I don't really care about that. But then some of them, the live stream where I was showing Metropia and Control Factor, where I was showing clips from those movies, it was totally. It's like they let the live stream have visibility for a while, and then they cut that off, and it only has partial visibility. So I want to play this song, which really pumps me up. It's one of my favorite songs. And if you go, it's by Nickelback. It's called Lullaby. And if you go online on YouTube and punch in, I want to show the video that I watched with it because it's Daredevil. Go type into YouTube Daredevil Lullaby. I'm not going to show it on my live stream, and I'm going to play the music, which I think they're going to demonetize my video. But I think if I just play the music, they'll just demonetize me, and they won't make it so you can't see the video. I think if I showed the video, it would completely make the whole live stream invisible. They would I don't know, whatever you call it, limited. It wouldn't be a public video anymore. It would be like limited. Nobody could see it. So I'm going to play the song while I get my windows up and stuff like that. And hello to everybody coming in the chat room. I hope y'all are making it through. I hope you're surviving. It's going to be a pretty long one because I'm also, besides being tortured and my head being a swirl of fog and just feeling pretty depressed about all this, but still fighting. I'm bored also. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm on my second playthrough, and it's like this really long game, and that's like all I'm doing, and I'm trying to think of stuff productive to do. I have been running some errands and stuff like that, but it's just the longer this goes on, the more I feel like, man, I should be doing something. I should be being productive. and I get down on myself, even though like earlier on in my targeting, I was like, okay, I'm just surviving. I'm being murdered by a directed energy weapon, so I'm doing a good job. You know, the longer it goes on, I'm like, God, I need a job, I need a life, and so those feelings, you know, I'm really battling with. But okay, guys, give me 1 second. I'm gonna open all my windows while I play this song. It's a great song. It pumps me up, and I hope my video doesn't devisibilized. Stuck out on the ledge, and there ain't no healing. Forgotten yourself with the jacket and telling you that taking someone's so just get my adapters are freezing on my computer. But you're gonna make it through another night. Stop. Get on the easy way out. There's no way to go, no, I can't make you done. You are too young, and the best is yet to come. Hey, future knowledge. Hey, native. Hey, Jen. Hey, Autumn. How are you guys doing? Future knowledge, I'm trying not to lose my mind. So I'm just going to put out some information, you know, and fight this the way that I know how right now. Got a lot of good information just about Gangstalking, kind of put it all together. And well, I'll wait till the song finishes. So if you're out the belly hanging on, just give it one more try. Lullaby, turn this up on the radio. If you get anything now, I'm reaching out to let you know that you're not alone. And if you can't tell, I'm scared to settle, 'cause I can't get you on the telephone. Just close your eyes. Yeah, I know that there's like a video. They did that. They took that Daredevil show and then put that song to it, and that's why I really like it. So go check it out on YouTube at Daredevil Lullaby, and it gets me really pumped up because it's like Daredevil crap out of criminals, and he's like bleeding from his face, and he has to get up, and it's like, you know, so I like it. Okay, I got a lot of information lined up tonight, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I know I kind of do these to give y'all like plan them out, but I don't like doing that, because if I plan out things, like when I was a moderator, when I was a moderator on the conference calls, you know, I'd do it at specific times. Like I had Tuesday night and Thursday night. And so my attackers would be ready at those times. They would be ready to, you know, attack me, hold me in the side of the head, and I would just get really tired and I could barely think. So, you know, when I do things a little bit more sporadically, I think that's just in general with targeting. When you do things kind of on the fly, you can get better results because your attackers aren't going to be ready to go ahead and try and trip you up. Like, okay, and I already got a message on my Google Hangouts. This Hangout on air will end if you continue broadcasting content you aren't authorized to use. So there goes the monetization for this live stream because I played that song. And I guarantee you, if I would have played the video, which this video, it's like it's monetized. Wait, I don't think it's monetized actually, but it's clips from Daredevil, the show, and it's still visible. Tons of people watch it. How do these people, I don't see how the people using all these movie clips and putting them on YouTube, how their videos aren't hidden like mine are. I already got a warning. You got to, like, so you got to find music. You got to find like music that's, oh, I got another warning. There's like 2 warnings on my screen. The other one says an embedded page on this page says in content you aren't authorized to use. Okay, all right. And it was weird. You know, I did a live stream. I don't know if it was a live stream. It may have just been a regular video. But I was covering the Wired article. You know, the article that Wired wrote about targeted individuals, and it's ineligible for monetization because of copyrighted material. So I guess Wired magazine copyrights their articles, so you can't do YouTube videos about them. I'm gonna have to. What I'm gonna have to do, guys, because I'm not lazy. I just, you know, have a hard time getting stuff done. You know, because I'm targeted. But I'm gonna have to go through the rules of copywriting and what I can get away with and what I can't. I see a lot of YouTubers, they do 15 seconds of movie clips and then, or they'll speed up the voices or whatever, so it's not the same material. Because there are some things that I want to show. Like, I mean, there's some really good music that I want to play that pumps me up, some movies that I get inspiration from, movies that have predictive programming. So I'm going to try and find a way to get around that. And as long as it's, if they demonetize it, that's fine. But I didn't know that they could completely just disappear your video, like to where I can see it on my page, but you guys, you can't see it. Some of my videos because I put movies in them. Okay, so enough babbling. There was one more thing I wanted to say, but I can't remember. I'll see if I can remember it towards the end. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, guys, and I want to show y'all. You know, I'm getting a lot of like pulling a bunch of web pages for DHS Fusion Centers. Go into those guys, and I'm going to give you all the channels of these guys who really are doing some good research on DHS Fusion Centers and gang stalking. I think a lot of targeted individuals do a lot of good research on it. But okay, yeah, what I wanted to say is, I know I don't spend a lot of time on this. I spend a lot of time on the angle of experimentation with neuroweapons, and then all this other stuff is around that. But because I feel like the neuroweapons and the advancing of the neuroweapons is the mainly why they're getting so much money to do this for us. But then there's also the angle of feeding the surveillance state, feeding DHS Fusion Centers, getting the you know, tyrannical surveillance state built up, and then also you know, because my situation, you know, I had medical issues when I was younger, so I got implanted like during a surgery or something like that. It had nothing to do with me being a whistleblower or anything. So I do focus on the experimentation part, but there is a big part of this where, you know, fusion centers and InfraGard and things like that, they go after whistleblowers. They go after people who are considered dissidents. And then, you know, even if by chance you have a surgery or something like that, you get implanted and put into one of these programs for the DoD, you know, for neuroweapons, you're basically considered an enemy from that point on, you know. And it's America's on a national DHS fusion centers, InfraGard, national doing all this together. But there's this really weird thing going on where they get like, say, I'll give you an example. Like during my gang stalking, when I was going to my job, I think 2 years or 3 years ago, I quit my job. I'd go to my job, and every morning this moving company, I forget what it's called. It was like two men in a truck. They were at the same gas station every morning. There were like 5 of them. I would see them around, like when I was driving out to get lunch. They were involved in gang stalking, and what happens is these local companies will get money, right? But they may get money from DHS fusion centers to do some of this, to do gang stalking activity, or what they would call patrolling. But they might also get money from InfraGard to do the same activities, because InfraGard doesn't necessarily know what DHS fusion centers are doing, and it's not necessarily known to Community Watch. So all these different organizations are doing gang stalking and patrolling, and that's why a targeted individual will get so much just laid on them, because they'll give the pay. I don't know how the paperwork works and all the details, but DHS fusion centers will be assigned to patrol you, to harass you, and then InfraGard will be assigned to patrol and harass you, and then Community Watch, that's run by the local sheriff's department, will get people in your community too. And these people who are doing it don't necessarily know that you're being stalked by DHS fusion centers. They don't necessarily know you're being stalked by InfraGard. They're doing their own thing, and then it adds all these different organizations doing the gang stalking up to just cause this big cluster F. But let me go ahead. Let me get to the first thing that I wanted to show. And there's a lot of people with great information, just solid, concrete information about gang stalking, and senators and senators and representatives know about this stuff. I think a lot of them are concerned, but it's just it's governmental money, governmental programs. So let's listen to this. This is what's his name? It's oh gosh, I can't remember. He's the son of Rand Paul, and he's talking about these drones that they're handing out. And then I wanted to say something about this.
As, changes to the authorization. Okay, very good. Let me turn to the ranking member, Senator Paul, and then Senator Keyes. I'll turn to you right after that. Senator Paul, I know, I apologize. We started right. I know you were on your way, and I just wanted to keep the meeting going. I apologize that you were not here.
That's great. That's a first in Senate history to be on time. I want to thank the panel members for coming today. I was wondering, Mr. Manning, are FEMA preparedness grants being used to purchase drones?
Senator, no, drone. There have been some grantees that have purchased remote-controlled low-level aircraft, basically RV, like what you would think of as like a hobby aircraft that have cameras for monitoring.
Well, drones can be of different expenses. It sounds like a drone to me, just a cheaper one.
And I want to add in something right there. Now, I haven't had this happen to me in a while, where I've actually seen these smaller little drones that aren't. It's not like a big drone, an unmanned vehicle from the Air Force, or it's like these little drones that you can buy at the store. And I was in the house that burnt down to my parents' house when I was getting targeted, when I was getting gang stalked more heavily. And I was at my parents' house one night hanging out, and I walked outside, and there were like 10 to 15 of these little drones. So they actually have people that are working for DHS Fusion Center or Community Watch for them to go with surveillance and fly them around neighborhoods. So they would actually use that with my stalking. They would use that as a psyop with all these little like 10 to 15 drones outside, got it on video. I think I have so many videos, but I'd have to go back, and I'm pretty sure I got that on video. But what they do in these little kind of buy in the store, fusion workers like in fly them over targeted individuals and things like that. In addition to the actual, very expensive military-owned drones.
See then for surveillance, if you're giving out money that's being used to be purchasing surveillance, you have a policy in place for how the money is spent.
And centers on protection of civil rights and civil liberties through our Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties and the Intelligence and Analysis Directorate.
Now that's a joke. That's it. I don't see how this is happening, and I guess that's the issue to put on my tombstone. I don't. The guy is saying that the Department of Justice and they have civil liberties. They have little. Oh God, words so hard, guys. I still want to just make the video and get through it, but that they'll have a civil liberties department within DHS fusion centers that's supposed to be making sure that people's civil liberty and advantage of that it's done under the law. And I don't see how they are passing any of that through as lawful or not invading people's civil liberties. Because I mean, and this is how I think it is. These are guesstimations. Not sure if these are real figures, but what I'm getting looking at is that everybody who is being hit with weapons is not being 95% of people who are being hit with direct and are getting neuro weapons experimentation. 95% are probably getting gang stalked, but then you got that 5%. You got people being gang stalked. Now, I would say about 70% of people being gang stalked in the United States, in other countries, even if I just want to do a flat guesstimation on it, about 70 to 75% of the people who are being gang stalked are also getting hit with directed energy weapons. They're getting remote neural monitoring. They're getting neuro weapons attacks too. But there's also 25% where they're just being gang stalked. They're just being gang stalked. People monitor when they come out there. Being gang stalked, saying, "Oh, it's directed energy weapons. That's crazy. Why are we talking about that?" But I wanted to say, oh God. Well, let's keep playing this. But I guess my main point is I don't see how they are pushing through that our civil liberties are not being hurt. Because most of the people who are being almost all the people who are being hit with directed energy weapons are getting gang stalked. So how would their Department of Civil Liberties ever say, okay, we're not invading these people's rights. We're not just demolishing these people's rights. It's a mess. And what I think, and I'll kind of talk about this as we go on. I think that the Department of Defense and the contractors, the universities that are actually carrying out the research and development with the weapons, they know what's happening. They know like who is gang stalking you. They know if Community Watch is on the job, if info stalking you. They also know if DHS Fusion Center is stalking you. So they kind of have a bird's eye view of what's happening. But these other organizations that are involved in these angles, like InfraGard, may be tasked with targeting you and targeting your family and stalking you where they go. But they have no idea. They have no idea what DHS fusion centers are doing sometimes. I think sometimes they do. Sometimes they collate data. But I think sometimes these are independent agencies doing their own things, targeting you so that you're getting a 3-time dose of the targeting of what DHS Fusion Center would say doesn't mess with your civil liberties, which is ridiculous in itself, because all of this even if you were being stalked by one person from DHS Fusion Center that followed you everywhere, and it was just one person, that would be totally demolishing your civil liberties. And I think we all know that they're not. I think it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous that they would say that, you know, this follows practices under the law and everything from the DOJ and then the departments of civil liberties in these DHS Fusion Centers. It's just, it's so ridiculous.
So what is the policy then for using drone surveillance?
Senator, I'd have my colleagues across the department for specifics on those answers, but I know that they work to ensure that they're compliant with all the Department of Justice regulations.
See, he doesn't know. Like, he has no idea. Like, so what's the policy? Who can be surveilled? Oh, I got to check with, you know, I got to look. He sent it. I'm not sure what he is, but he doesn't even know. And Rand Paul makes a good point. He makes a good point coming up, so I'm going to let him say it.
I don't know anything about the drone surveillance program or any of the drone money being used for drones. David, did you have a comment?
We haven't done any work specifically looking at use of FEMA grants for purchasing of drones. We've done broader work on drones, but not specific to FEMA grants.
You know, so the problem is that, you know, your fusion centers haven't always been the best at defending civil liberties. There have been instances where the fusion centers have targeted people for their political beliefs. We're in the midst of a huge, you know, crisis in the country with the IRS apparently being used for political purposes. But a few years back, you know, the Missouri Fusion Center was targeting people for their political beliefs, third-party candidates, pro-life people, people with different bumper stickers on their car were said to be targeted by the fusion centers. There is a big concern that allowing your money, our money, to be used to purchase drones without any rules in place of what the rules are is disconcerting. There are some who believe.
So that's really important. I mean, Rand Paul is saying these DHS fusion centers are not taking into account people's civil liberties. They're smashing them. They're smashing them. They're going after, you know, people with different political views. And I think, I mean, I think he knows even more. I think Rand Paul knows that it's even worse than that. I mean, because some people, you know, like me, and there's a lot of other target individuals, I was never a whistleblower. I just got implanted from a surgery or whatever sometime through my childhood, and then I was placed into this program, the DOD program, going down to a contractor. Maybe there may be Ochsner may be involved. Ochsner is has a bunch of different hospitals and locations. So Ochsner in conjunction with the DOD, you know, and probably a contractor. And it's just like, I mean, this is people that should, and they're only being harassed. A large percentage of those people, there may be like maybe 25% of people who are gang stalked and targeted are whistleblowers or people with, well, you know, then you actually get into anything you do. You know, if you study 9/11, if you look at 9/11 online, you can be considered a political dissident. So I guess looking at it that way, you know, they can just target anybody, because they can say if you have a pocket constitution, if you look into 9/11, if you think the government, you know, you could be placed on this list. So.
If once you get out privacy, I tend to, these are things we're going to have to, so these are not something of passing concern. I'm also concerned about, you know, where these grants are going. Apparently some grants are being used to pay office rent. Some grants are given that had a 0% progress towards its goal. David?
And that's when he says, you know, money is being given to DHS fusion centers that have 0% results. They found in a study, and I wish I had that study ready, but they found that none of these DHS fusion centers, not one in America, actually caught a terrorist. Like, that none of them found any terrorism. So they're specifically being used to target innocent citizens or somebody with a maybe a 9/11 truther or something like that. You know, they're not being used to catch any terrorism. That's not the point. They say that's the point, but that is definitely not the point, and we know that.
Comment on exactly how we would go about trying to have better oversight?
Absolutely. Of FEMA grant programs, we looked at the 4 largest programs and identified the amount of visibility that FEMA had over the specific uses of the funds. And we found that for some of the largest programs, FEMA may not know specifically how the funds are being used at the time they make decisions to provide the money. That creates a problem. It also, in our mind, raises the potential risk of unnecessary duplication. In other words, grantees could potentially receive funds from more than one program for the same or similar activities without the internal workings of FEMA being aware that that was happening. Now,
so what you got here, and that was my example of the two men in a truck thing. You know, FEMA is working with DHS fusion centers, and InfraGard is with the FBI. Some of these companies that agree to do this, they may be getting paid from DHS fusion centers, but then also getting paid for InfraGard for the same thing that they're doing. And what's happened is because they want to keep all this secret, right? It's national security, and so there's no oversight, and there's no transparency, and nobody has any idea, and they're just throwing money. They're just throwing money into these programs. The more targeted individuals they can get, the better, because there's no oversight. And within this no oversight, the money is not being used even correctly. Even if you wanted to say it is the most corrupt thing, they're paying people twice. Like they pay a company like say FedEx or something like that, because they do patrolling on targeted individuals. They may be getting paid from a bunch of different sources, from FEMA to DHS fusion centers, for the same activity. So it's just funneling this money. And what you got is with state agencies and governmental and national agencies, they want to use all their money so that they can get more money in the next quarter. So they want to just throw money into it as much as they can, so then they can get more funding the next year. So it's like we're being used on so many levels that is not fixing anything. It's only hurting everything. It's making our communities just horrifying. It's actually creating terrorism. And then the money is not, you know, they're just throwing money into it. They're just throwing money into it to pump it up because they want to use that money. So none of these people know what is going on. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. I think the only people who really have a bird's eye view of all this are, you know, our electronics corps, the people who are microwaving us and doing remote neural monitoring, and whoever their manager is. Those people kind of know what's going on, but they can't interact with the DHS fusion centers too much. They probably have 1 or 2 people per target. I don't know, 1 or 2 people per target in DHS fusion centers who does communicate with them and then relays what kind of targeting needs to happen from DHS fusion centers to us, you know, from that contractor or hospital or whatever. But when it gets down to the level of DHS fusion center, InfraGard, and then community policing, and then all these businesses getting money, like like a lot of taxi cab companies get a lot of money to do patrolling because they're always driving around the airport and driving around and picking people up. So they have a lot of time to patrol targeted individuals. They may be getting paid 2 or 3 times to do the same thing. And while we are innocent and we're being patrolled, and it's like this money, not even, you know, I know that I should say they shouldn't be doing this at all, but at least if you're going to do something wholly uncorrupt, at least make sure you're only paying people once, you know. And I mean, that's kind of a moot point. They shouldn't be doing this at all. But I just want to show how, you know, people say, oh, well, how could government, you know, do all this gang stalking? How could it do these programs? It's so inefficient, and it's so, you know, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. That still takes place. That still takes place with these programs, but they just use it. They're like, okay, well, we're going to pay these people. No, and this group who's stalking doesn't know what this group who's stalking is doing. you know, it's only coordinated and seen from the people who are on these electronics corps teams that we have, and those main people running our experimental programs. But down at the bottom on a governmental level, they're just doing things over and over and over again. They have, you know, InfraGard doing the same job on a targeted individual that, you know, that DHS Fusion Center is doing on a person, that the Community Watch program is doing. So the coordination is not that great. But when you're looking at it, like the coordination of the gang stalking is a mess. Like it's a mess, and it's just evil and shitty. And what the thing is, this, it looks very, very coordinated. It looks like everybody knows what everybody else is doing, because the timing and everything is so sufficient. But it's like they're throwing so many gang stalkers at us all the time that they're gonna hit on where you're going and stuff a lot of times, because they're overdoing it. And I hope I'm explaining that right. You know, I'm really discombobulated. But let's go on. Let's finish this this video. I got a lot more information to go through. I wanted to just go through as much stuff about gang stalking and tie it into some things other than experimentation, because it does have to do with you know, going after dissidents, going after whistleblowers and things like that. So I kind of wanted to do things and show some different angles. I do stick to the experimentation thing, because that, I think in my case, that is why they're doing this to me. You know, it's for no other reason than I was convenient. They got a chip in me when I was little, and then I continue to be to go through these. Oh God, I used to be able to explain this better, but different rungs of the program. You know, being surveilled at first, and maybe some silent running, state-of-the-art mind control, and then gang stalking with state-of-the-art mind control, and then 8 years ago thrown into overt targeting, overt surveillance, you know, complete just overt targeting. You know, so I've been through different rungs of this program since I was like 12.
We looked into that. We looked at 1,000 different grant awards. We didn't find any examples of specific duplication, but there were a couple hundred cases where if you just looked at the data they had in their systems, FEMA systems, it looked like on paper they were being funded for the same things from different programs.
Well, Senator Begich, I think this is a good example of really where, you know, the bill that you and I have talked about of trying to pay people to save money, give people within the bureaucracy of government more pay to save money would be a good example, because, I mean, one is just so enormous and nobody has the proper incentives. If it were my money, I'd be watching it, but since it's not my money, I don't really care. That seems to be the attitude of most people in government. You know, we had the trailers that sat in Arkansas for years and years. We had the ice that was stored by the hundreds of thousands of pounds for Katrina that never got there. We had the inmates in Baton Rouge who were, you know, receiving displaced money from FEMA. We had people staying in resorts. You know, we had all kinds of things. But it's not really because there's one particularly bad person or one particularly bad policy. It's really because there is no incentive for anybody to protect the money, because it's just not theirs. And I think the annoying will always lead to abuse. I think the distance from the problem, being in Washington, really most of this stuff ought to be locally collected and locally handled. And it's really why, you know, when certain states want $62 billion, they want it all at once. They don't, you know, they can't stand to get it a little bit at a time, so there could be more surveillance or more oversight of whether the money's being spent properly. It's really why things ought to be done differently. And instead of giving $62 billion, you know, after Sandy in one bulk sum, I feel certain that we'll be back here in 5 years talking about, you know, how that money was abused as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Let me go to Senator Chiesa, but let me also.
Okay, guys. So, I mean, at least we have some people, you know, speaking out about it a little bit, you know, like Rand Paul, not necessarily talking about the directed energy weapons involved. So, and that was, that's from Brian. I subscribe to his channel, just BRIAN. I don't think it's not Brian 2. But Brian, Organized Stalking Fusion Center. So go check out his channel. Now I want to go to, I want to go to this video by Inner Light. I think, wait, I think it was the other one I wanted to go to first. No. Okay, let's go to this one first. This is by Inner Light. Point him out.
Fellow TIs. Now I'm doing a search on Google Trends and I typed up the word gang stalking. And as you can see, prior to 2004, gang stalking wasn't something which you really heard much about on YouTube. And
look at that. This is the Google Analytics for how many how many people are searching gang stalking, how much it's on Google, or maybe this is YouTube. I think this is YouTube maybe, but look at that, just a straight line up. Now, what does that show you? It shows that we've got a big strength here, guys. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that because it's so big and you know, just so dark and so big, and you know, people are saying national security, so nobody can talk about it, and police won't talk about it because they're involved. But we have the truth here. Like, we are telling the truth. So the further along you know about the truth, because we are telling the truth. So if gang stalking was just a mental illness or whatever, you wouldn't see so many people looking into it, so many people talking about it. Mental illnesses do not work like that. They don't just spread around, this new mental illness where everybody, it kind of experiences the same thing and it just spreads worldwide. Things don't have, you know, and I want to kind of make a side note. The side note is I've been watching a lot of videos and researching, and there's a whole new word, you know, and I think for a while, there's been a word for people who look for the truth, who like actually try and find facts and say, okay, this is what's really happening in our world. They're called truthers. Like, so there's an actual label. There is an actual label for people who just want to find the truth out. So there's truthers, and it's like, oh, you're one of those truthers. You want to know the truth, and you want to know the reality of your world. So there's actually a name for it, a coined name for people who just want to know the truth and tell the truth. So what does that make the rest of society? Non-truthers? Like, go with the flow in the mainstream? I mean, that's sick. And I found that really distressing. You know, either a conspiracy theorist if you're looking for the truth, or you're in a truther community. We're a truther community, you know, instead of just people who are putting out facts, you know. And I think that labeling people who are looking for hard truths and really trying to hold government accountable and trying to tell about some of the, like, these horrible atrocities that the DOD and these contractors and some universities are involved in, and hospitals, you know, they try and, you know, demonize us. Oh, we're looking for the truth, you know. And if you don't care about the truth, if you're just like, oh, I'm going to go to my job and just watch mainstream news, then you're normal and you're okay, you know. But if you're looking for too much truth, you're a conspiracy theorist or a truther, which really is just that's a red flag where you know that things are completely effed up in our society, where there's a name, a label given to people who want to know the truth.
social media outlets. Now we see here that fusion centers pretty much started booming around 2003 and 2007 under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Office of Justice Programs and the U.S. Department of Justice. And we know the FBI and CIA and other agencies were tied to fusion centers. They say there's 79, but the truth is that there's way more than that, because when you count their affiliations or stakeholders, many police stations are proliferating.
You notice, oh, I thought that arrow was my arrow. You see here, the National Network of Fusion Centers was established after the September 11 attacks. So, you know, InfraGard, and I don't know if InfraGard was established after 9/11, but, you know, and I'm going to show you all some of the web pages for DHS Fusion Centers and Community Watch. A lot of these things were just bolstered so much after 9/11, and it's very revealing that when people are saying, like, say there's a psychiatrist who says that targeted individuals are mentally ill, they will always say, well, because 9/11 happened and then there's increased surveillance, all these people started getting really paranoid and started to have this mental illness that, you know, maybe they were being watched. Which it's like, okay, 9/11 happened, then there were so much more surveillance and all these programs, and they actually are surveilling people who don't deserve to be surveilled, you know, with DHS Fusion Centers, with NSA and everything like that. So like these people are delusional that say after it's this mental illness that started after 9/11, and then all these surveillance protocols were initiated to actually surveil people, and then people got this mental illness. I mean, the actual mainstream lie, and I think that's been broken by now. I really do. I know that we can't get a pulse on it. Like, we can't put a finger on the pulse because the mainstream news is not helping us a lot. I think that we do have, you know, in these countries, we do have a better understanding that these things are actually happening. But it's hard to put our finger on the pulse of how many people are just like, oh, I've heard of that and that's crazy and these people are mentally ill, compared to people who are like, no, that stuff is true, but just can't get the word out. You know, they don't know what to do and they don't see it on the news, you know.
Centers, even though they're not lit as one. So they're utilizing the same tactics as fusion centers. So let's scroll down here. And as you can see, there are quite a few states which not marked blue, I guess, because they really don't have too many people complaining about gang stalking in these other states, which are gray. But there are people that have complained about it in New Mexico and in other states. But you notice that wherever there's a high concentration of Freemasons and military bases, you notice that these areas have people searching for information, gang stalking. So these are all since 2004.
Look at that. Yeah. Let me do this.
0 statistics gang stalking. So these are all
okay.
Statistics of people searching.
So you notice in Oregon, tons of people looking at gang stalking, because there's tons of gang stalking, tons of experimentation up in Oregon. And then you got California right here. Then you got New York right there, Florida, Texas, all those places where it's happening so much because there's condensed populations. People are really trying to get information on it because it's happening to so many people. It looks like I live in Louisiana. Looks like not a lot of people are looking into it there. I am. Hell, I am. I know Joe Lilly is too. We gotta go protest. He does some good protests and stuff. I need to.
For information concerning gang stalking. So these are all statistics since 2004 concerning gang stalking. And as you can see here, look, 0. And then right after the fusion centers, we start seeing a spike. You start seeing these spikes here, and it just keeps going up, and it's not going down. It just keeps going higher and higher. So correlating
DHS fusion centers popping up with how many people are looking into gang stalking, with how many searches, yeah. So basically, how many searches, how many people are looking at gang stalking. That's a great chart that he puts up. And it coincides directly with the proliferation of DHS fusion centers who do this kind of patrolling, and they call it patrolling. I would call it gang stalking, psyop, traumatizing citizens.
Put it for 2004 to 2018, the present day for today. So let's see here. So today it is September 13th, 2018. So isn't that something? Right after the creation of fusion centers, they were created between 2003 and 2007. And Google won't let me go back to 2003 for some reason, but I can go to 2004.
Isn't that interesting? How it coincides directly.
And then we see it spike, and then right when we get to around, let's see here, it's like it starts kicking off around, let's see here, right around 2006. So right here, January, we see a big spike, and it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It doesn't stop. This is right after the creation of fusion centers. Thank you for listening. Greetings, fellow TIs. Now I want to share some information concerning videos on my other channel. My main channel is First Amendment to the United States Constitution, and my other YouTube channel is called Inner Light.
Okay, so this is from the same guy.
Called Harassed by XHHS Employee.
Okay, so First Amendment to the United States Constitution is this guy's YouTube channel, and also Inner Light. And I'm going to go over another one of his videos. He has a lot of really good research, you know, on DHS fusion centers and on InfraGard and things like that. So please check out Inner Light and First Amendment to the Constitution. Now, I guess I want to, before, let's see. Let me make sure. Okay, I don't have any warnings about showing that. I'm just trying to see if I'm getting warnings about showing other people's YouTube videos. But I kind of wanted to collate the data, you know, kind of get it all in one place. And I guess I want to show this video before I start going into the websites so that we can all see that concrete evidence that fusion centers exist, that InfraGard exists, that these community watch programs exist. And there's one really interesting thing about the National Community Watch Program is that it is not, I'm going to look at it real quick. Okay, this is for Neighborhood Watch. The national NSA is proud to present our new National Neighborhood Watch Program. So this is another one of those, you know, agencies. It's another, you know, link in the chain that they have here to carry out gang stalking, to carry out patrolling, what they would call community policing or whatever, and we call it psyoping and getting in our lives and not going away like little gnats, you know. But it says, look, note, due to the large number of neighborhood watch groups across the country, policing and investigating them on the national level is not something that we have the resources, capability to routinely do. So that goes into oversight. DHS fusion centers, National Community Watch Program, InfraGard, there's no oversight because they're all saying, well, this is national security and we're fighting terrorism, so we can't give out any information, and there's really no oversight, so they can just do whatever the hell they want. And they're going to cover each other's butts if they do something like really horrible. Like, let me give you an example. Okay, so at the house that burned down, before it burned down, you know, I broke a mirror in the place because I was so upset about getting hit with these directed energy weapons so hard. The ringing in my ears was just horrible, and I couldn't even take it. And I smashed a mirror on the ground. Little did I know that as I was doing that, one of my neighbors around me, and I think it was the ex-Army guy, Lynn, and I know his full name, but I'm not sure how much he was involved with some of it, but I'm not sure how much. So I don't want to give his last name. But he called the police while I was smashing that mirror, saying that I was walking around the neighborhood with a knife, right? saying that I was walking around the neighborhood, and I was in my house. I had not gone outside or anything like that. So he lied, and he said I was walking. And so I have this mirror, right? And I'm walking outside with the mirror to throw it in the garbage. And I walk outside, and there are 2 city police with their guns drawn on me. And I'm talking about they could have shot me. Like, they could have shot me because one of my neighbors falsely reported that I had a knife, that I was walking, and I didn't. But I had the mirror in my hand. The mirror had sharp pieces on it, and these guys were getting ready to shoot me. Now, you would think, right, that if this guy falsely said that I was walking around a knife and it caused an incident where policemen almost shoot me on my doorstep because I'm carrying a mirror that has like a jagged piece hanging off of it, you would think that that would get reported, that there would be some overwatch, and they'd be like, whoa, hold on, this guy almost got shot because a neighbor falsely reported him, who's, you know, the neighbor involved in DHS, you know, fusion centers or InfraGard. I think that Lynn was probably working with InfraGard. And that's just it's really just a hunch. But you think that would be reported, you know, they would, you know, have some kind of control, but they don't. That's why all these horrible things happen with gang stalking and noise campaigns. And it even gets to a violent point a lot of times. And that's not even accounting for, you know, being microwaved with directed energy weapons and our brains being scrambled by neuro weapons. It's just the things that they do with physical gang stalking. Sometimes it gets to a very dangerous point, and it has nothing to do with the actions of us, with the actions of people actually being targeted by this BS. So those are the dangerous situations that happen, and that's a very small danger compared to what they're doing on large scales. But it's because of this. It's because all these neighborhood watches go out and they have to hide all this information of what they're doing because terrorism, you know, terrorism. So they have to hide that so they can't have any oversight. And you know, these people can do stupid things that can really, really hurt us and say, oh, well, not even considering the actual directed energy weapon, you know, to our head, to our body, and neuro weapons. That's just the gang stalking is dangerous. But let's go back. I want to go through this video before I jump into all of that. I might not go through this whole video. Let's check it out. I got so many windows open here. So, First Amendment to the United States Constitution in inner light. So please go and like these videos, subscribe to his channel. He does a lot of good work on this.
Okay, right now I'm looking at an image, a fusion center. And as we see, there's a lot of white and black vehicles around this facility. Now, I went on Google Maps a while back, and I was able to get a lot more vehicles recorded that were all white. It was a tremendous amount, but it looks like the site has updated it, and you can see there's not a lot of cars there at this time. So maybe it was taken in the morning. Now, when I first moved here to Austin, I was being systematically harassed nonstop. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was being harassed even when I ate food. They were dropping off kids to harass me. I had neighbors harassing me. It was crazy. So I went.
Yeah, and I just want to throw this in there. I'm still like, I ignore it completely, but I'm still getting bathroom harassment from my next door neighbor. Like, I never see him. Like, we used to, like, when I first moved here, we would come out at the same time. He gang stalked me a little bit. He wore red t-shirts. But now at this point, I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him at all in months, in maybe like, I think like half a year or almost half a year. But when I go to the I wake up and I go to the bathroom, he starts running his water. Every time. Like that noise campaign on the other side of my wall, and I just ignore it. So you know, so they won't have a justification for doing it. But it's constant. Whenever I'm doing something important or like making videos or anything like that, I will get this guy running his water and making noise on the other side of the wall. Shit, like when I go to the bathroom, He'll shake the toilet and stuff like that. And it's very suspicious that I never see him outside, because he knows where I am. So he's not going to come outside at the same time as me. He's going to be very, you know, he's going to hide in his place and do these noise campaigns and stuff like that, and not even see me. So that if I tell anybody, hey, this guy's harassing me, they're like, well, he's like, I don't even know this guy. I don't see him much. But he plans to go out or not to go out when I'm in my place, and he'll leave. So we never actually cross paths anymore, because he's doing so much of these noise campaigns. So they do a really weird protocol on me with gang stalking. They don't tend to get up in my face. You know, I know a lot of targeted individuals, they really do. These gang stalkers get really aggressive. And I don't know, you know, I don't know how to handle it in all those other situations, but if somebody does something to me in my face, I can make them look pretty stupid. And that's not bragging. I think a lot of us can do that if you just know that you're in the right, and these people are crazy, you know. And so I get a lot of gang stalkers who do this noise campaign, stuff like that, but then they don't want to come out at the same time, right? Because they don't want confrontation with me. They want to do their little noise campaign or whatever. Now then the people who do the actual gang stalking, patrolling in the condo, you know, they do see me a lot. They come by at specific times. But I just wanted to add that in.
To Texas Department of Public Safety. I discovered that a group called Citizens Corps was harassing me. So I was furious. I was really mad. I didn't know what to expect. I was going to be arrested for accusing them of what they were doing. So I put a Bible in my bag, went over there, and tried to talk to these people. I talked to a joint counterterrorism agent. He was really nice. I was told by a police station to go to this area to talk to them, and then come to find out, they stated I was trespassing. But the police, a station that was on the corner of the street nearby a school, they had told me go drive back there and go talk to them and just knock on the door, and you should be able to talk to someone. So that's what I did. So there was me and that joint counterterrorism agent were, let me scroll down. We were somewhere around this area, and we were chit-chatting, and I was explaining to him that I was being harassed by a bunch of women wearing white earphones, sometimes black shirts, following me around all over the place. Well, all of a sudden, a bunch of women exit one of these buildings around here. There's about 40, 50 women, and they stand, there was an area where there was a patch of grass. So I don't know if it was here or here, but these are all part of Texas Department of Public Safety. So they're all together. I've seen a patch of grass, I've seen a bunch of women exit a building, and I've seen one woman emerge.
And the deal is, I'm going to go ahead and stop for a second. The deal is, and I'll show y'all all the partners and all of the agencies that are involved in fusion centers, who are helping fusion centers and doing all this stuff. Texas Department of Public Safety is actually involved in this. They're actually involved in the gang stalking. Texas Department of Public Safety, which should be, you know, raising concerns about the public safety when people are being stalked, and harassed, vehicularly harassed on foot, followed around. They actually are doing this because it's just like, hey, we're going along. You know, these people that you know, that are persons of interest or whatever, they're a danger to public safety. So they turn everything on its head. And normal people, normal citizens who are no danger to themselves or other and just want to go about their lives are now deemed to public safety. So Texas Department of Public Safety, they're actually working with DHS fusion centers saying, oh, well, it's for public safety that we're going to cooperate with DHS fusion centers, and then attacking and harassing innocent Americans. And there's probably there's organizations in other countries that do this to their innocent citizens. It's been flipped on its head. Everything has been flipped and turned upside down. Black is white, up is down, left is right. You know, like Jim Garrison says on JFK. Rain is dry, cats are dogs, hot dogs are hamburgers. Those are the only ones I can think of.
From the group come out wearing white earphones, like she's marching past me, like I'm going to teach this guy a lesson. So at the exact moment I'm telling the joint counterterrorism agent what I'm experiencing, and it happens right there. So
red is blue or red is green. Just wanted to throw another one in there.
ended up leaving, and the police showed up. Someone stated I took a picture of this woman exiting the building, so they wanted the photo. And they gave me a citation, told me don't come back here no more. So I didn't go back there. I've never gone back there again. So I started having this group called Citizens Corps park their vehicles. They would park their vehicles next to me. People were harassing me in stores. And I started doing more research, and this is what comes up when I type up Texas Department of Public Safety. Citizens Corps. So these groups are all together. I mean, this is massive. They're all tied to these fusion centers. And I'm being hacked, it looks like. So
massive national, I guess, you know, like, what's that guy, Barack Obama's aide, his, I think his secretary, oh God, his, what was it, Rahm Emanuel, saying that they needed a nationwide civilian army, you know, and they were already creating it with DHS fusion centers, InfraGard, and community watch, national community watch programs. This isn't our state. This isn't the state you live in saying, okay, or the or just an independent community getting together and going, okay, we need to watch our neighborhood. So let's, you know, go patrolling at certain times of the day and just make sure everything's safe. This is national community watch, where they're given protocols and they're given who to go after. The community watch agencies now, they're not even looking for danger or suspicious people. They are told who the suspicious people are to go after.
Bear with me 1 second. My page is actually gone. As you can see, my internet is gone. So I have to, this is happening on my tablet too. So just bear with me 1 second, because my presentation now is gone. So it may take a second to reload. This is happening on my tablet too.
I know how that feels.
So just bear with me 1 second. I apologize. This is like out of my control. So I ended up, it was a Texas Department of Public Safety office only. Well, it's a little more than that. It's also a fusion center. So it's police and people working together. And these fusion centers have a history of harassing people. Isn't that something? Medically harassed here. And it happened at a fusion center. So the next day, I'm exiting my apartment, and a girl stands there with this real smirky smile, waving at me. Not in a flirtatious manner. Then the next day after that, I have a woman drop off a child with a black shirt and white earphones. There's no one in this restaurant. And I can see her waving and honking the horn. Then after that, I had another neighbor harass me. And I talked to the police about the harassment. And I
just want to add something in. And I really, you know, guys, lately I've just kind of, I've just been doing my own thing. And, you know, if another YouTuber says something that, you know, that I don't agree with and that isn't the truth, you know, I try and just ignore it and do my own thing. But, and I don't know if there's a lot of these people on YouTube, but there's a good many people, they're talking about gang stalking and they're talking about targeting. I think y'all may know where I'm going with this, and they're saying that it's demonic attacks, you know, that demonic entities are getting into people all around you, and then that's how they're able to time all these different things. I don't see how those people are not looking at this evidence of DHS fusion centers InfraGard, Community Watch, the technology that they use to communicate. Like, so you probably got somebody, whoever's, you know, microwaving you, doing the remote neural monitoring manipulation. They have a connection in, you know, in DHS fusion centers, maybe 2 for each target or 1 for each target or something like that. Then they relay their information of, you know, their remote neural monitoring, what bothers you and what they need to do for street theater, and they pass it along to people who are going to go out and patrol you and gang stalk you. I just want to say, I don't know, it's really been on my mind, and I've prayed about it a lot, because I really just want to do my own thing and just, you know, people know the truth. I know that you guys who come and watch my videos and resonate with the information that I'm putting out and really look for the truth, you know, somebody's not going to be able to convince you that, you know, all these people are demon infested and it's demons really attacking us instead of microwaves. But I know that a lot of Christian TIs, I worry about that sometimes. I really worry about it, and God's kind of telling me, not speaking to me in V2K or anything, but he's just speaking to my heart and saying, hey, speak out about that, because it's not the truth. So you know, this is all, you know, I'm talking about something very, very specific, and people can talk about spiritual warfare. And I even agree that, you know, with these gang stalkers, there's spiritual wickedness, especially with the people working for these contractors and the DOD, universities and hospitals that are cooperating with this. There's spiritual wickedness, but I really do think that it's dangerous. It's dangerous to pass around information, you know, that all these people are being infested with demons. Like, if you tell somebody that, you'll definitely be put in the mental institution. And the main point is that it's not true. It's not true that all these gang stalkers are just infested with demons that control them and tell them where to go, or then can read your. I saw one targeted individual saying that the way that a gang stalker knows what you're thinking or something is because demons are telling them. And it was a young girl who seemed really smart, and she's a target individual. And I got very worried, because that's not necessarily how this happens. And I think that when you think that way, you know, my saying is, and I'm not calling out anybody in particular, but my feeling is that we're Christian. If you're a Christian TI, we're Christian, not cavemen. And God didn't call on us to think that everything is demons, just because a lot of people in the Bible were like, okay, demon, it's a demon manifestation or whatever. That doesn't mean that when we see something real in the world that we automatically say, well, if I want to be a good Christian, I have to call this demonic, because that's what the Bible talks about a lot, you know. So I don't really understand what people are doing there. They may be confused. They may actually believe it. They may not know a lot about the tactics and technologies that are going on with this. So they find it easier to maybe say, hey, this is all demons. So then they can talk about stuff that they do know. I do think that that's very dangerous, not only because if you tell somebody that, and making people aware of this will become impossible if a lot of people believe that, which I don't think a lot of people believe. A lot of target individuals, very smart, can figure things out. We know this is spiritual warfare and technological warfare too. But we've got to realize that if you're in a place, and I want to just say this real quick, and we'll move on. But if you're getting microwaved and you're getting neuro weapons hitting you and messing with your mind, and your attackers are running protocols on you with gang stalking, if you're like, okay, this is all demons and the attacks are all, the gang stalkers have demons inside of them and they can read my minds, you know what the people who are attacking you, like your electronics corps that are hitting you with microwaves and remote neural manipulation, you know what they do? They're like, yes, now we can really start working on protocols, you know, to really mess up this person's mind. So we've got to be careful about that. I just wanted to do a little disclaimer there, because that really, it's something that gets in my craw, because I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life, but never have I felt in my heart or learned through my Christianity in the Bible that when something is happening, you must say that it's demons or you're not a good Christian. I think it's not only silly and ridiculous. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for us to not see things that are happening as they are happening, to mystify it more. Because what we need to do here, guys, this is going to be a big strength for us, is demystifying all of this. Demystifying all these organizations and all these little things kind of playing into each other to create our, our own little prisons, our targeting prisons. We need to demystify it and weaken it. I feel like some Christians are like, hey, this is all demonic attacks. It mystifies it, and then it's like, okay, well, what can't they do? What can't the demons do, or whatever? And I know some of you guys are like, you don't even need to talk about that. We understand. But I do worry about people who, maybe I don't know. It's a topic. When people say that, it really, really gets to me. And I think that if they're a smart person, that they're being disingenuous, they're lying, because it's so easy to see what this program is doing and how they're doing it. You just have to go on the internet, put something into Google, and you can find out how all this works and how all these people are interconnected, Okay, so I just, I've been and I'm not saying any names or anything like that. It's just, it seems very dangerous to me, because I know that if especially with the actual microwave attacks and neuro weapon attacks, if a targeted individual says, okay, well, this is demonic attack, so I'm just going to pray to Jesus Christ. I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to do any of that. And I'm just going to pray for Jesus Christ to make it go away. Then your attackers, they'll be like, okay, well, he thinks this is all demonic, so let's make it go away for a while. And they'll start playing around with your faith. So we really have to know what's going on, so that we have to demystify this, because when it's mystified, when we mystify it more and more, and it's demonic power, and this demonic power can do anything, these attackers have parties over that. They want you to think that. So it makes it really complicated, and then they can mess around with your mind and stuff like that. So you guys leave some comments about that, but it's something that really bothers me. We're Christians, not cavemen. And I some people that talk about that, I'm like, wow, they really do believe that. They can't understand the technology, and they really believe. And some people that are saying it, I'm like, I think they're lying, and I don't know why they're lying, but I think they're lying. Okay, so let's keep going.
DVR sunglasses. On the left side of my face is where I pressed the button to turn them on. And this video is on my other channel. So I started having kids do the same thing. It was strange. And I had just talked to a police officer and told him that I was recording what was going on. And he worked for the VIPS. He was nice. He probably liked the glasses and told fellow officers what I had. And perhaps one of those officers that didn't like me told people in the community that I was recording. So I gave them my information, some of my contacts, and all of a sudden I'm having people harass me while I'm in different vehicles, when I don't have my cell phone. My OnStar was activated when it was deactivated, kind of like what Julia Davis went through. So I think it's more than just them. Fusion centers are tied to DHS. And then FEMA's office had actually moved there at that time. Isn't that something? Isn't that odd? So I find it really strange that if you look at my videos, I've complained about having red stickers placed in my mailbox, and how one sheriff mentioned it was coming from FEMA. This was years ago. This is not. I moved here from New Mexico, then I lived in Florida before, so this was many years ago. You have to go digging through my videos. So isn't that something that for all these years I've been harassed and I haven't been able to figure out what's going on? And this crap is coming from fusion centers. So we have the CIA, different agencies that get together. There's a state agency, and God knows who's directing them. So most of these people are homeowners. I mean, we don't have a lot of marginalized people in this community. You'll see some homelessness, but overall, majority of people.
The whole thing is, you know, they say that DHS fusion centers are there to counter terrorism, but there's not that many there's not any terrorists in most of these, you know, states in the United States. So they have to make up something. They have to make up, you know, and it's like they've doubled down. These evil people have doubled down. They're not only false flagging innocent citizens and kind of, you know, grabbing them and you know, gang stalking them and everything to build up DHS fusion centers and InfraGard and things like that. They're also experimenting on them with neuro weapons and hitting them with directed energy weapons so that we'll be more agitated. We'll look like maybe we're on drugs or something like that. Because I mean, our brain's being pulsated by microwaves, and then it can kind of, they think that that'll fix the situation. You know, they put 10 times more evil on a situation to say, okay, well, that'll make it good. We'll just torture the hell out of this person, and then they'll go outside and people will think that they look weird. So, you know, then the false flag will work instead of just maybe keeping an eye on bad people, you know, which I don't even think that would work, you know, now. It's so corrupt. They've corrupted it just to go into the lives of any innocent American based off of whatever they want to make up. And I don't think it could ever go back to a way that it could work. And I don't, you know, I know a lot of you are saying, you know, obviously, because they don't want it to work. They want to make America more chaotic. They want to cause more problems. So then, and this is the weird thing. The more problems they cause with these agencies and the more trouble we have, and you know, a small percentage of violence from targeted individuals who just can't take it anymore with the gang stalking and microwave weapons, they'll take those false flag events and they will put more money into DHS fusion centers, the things that cause those problems. So, you know, I think that we, you know, a lot of us have come to a conclusion a long time ago, I have, that none of this is to help us. All of this is just to get control and to use the Hegelian dialectic to mess things up more, get people more scared, have more bad things happening, then send more money to these agencies like NSA, DHS, InfraGard, the DOD, give more money to them to do more things on America and in other countries on their home soil to make things worse and to get more control. I think a lot of us realize that it was never meant to help. It was to make us safer, you know.
People can afford to live here. So these people are targeting marginalized people mostly. And community policing is based on a systematic approach to community policing. So it's nonstop. So we have police officers getting involved in this. And I want to share something else. This guy doesn't work for a fusion center, and I'm sure he's a good officer. But I have videos where I've been showing people that I've been harassed in stores. And this was last month. It's been like 31 days. And yesterday I called to get a police report because I'm planning on moving. And I want to have proof that I've made complaints about this. So if it happens in another state, I can share proof that I've made a complaint about it. So when I called, they said that there was nothing on file. Now, this is what's even more strange, is that I called, I've made reports in the past. I had a house break-in where a knife mark was made across my table. And that's not even on file with the Austin Police Department. Something's going on. Then I've also complained about being harassed at a doctor's office. I have another case number behind here. No, they're just going to make a file number, not a case number. So what I'm wondering is are the police and all these agencies working together? Are they trying to cover up this gang stalking by just giving people like a file number and not a case number? And these fusion centers are growing. These people, they go out and they harass people. They make their presence known. All these gang stalkers tied to DHS and all this stuff. I mean, it's really sick. And isn't it something that politicians have clearly stated that fusion centers have a history of violating constitutional rights and harassing people? I mean, this is serious business, people. I think we've lost our country.
It's like that's what they're there for. That's what fusion centers and InfraGard and community policing is supposed to do. It's supposed to take away people's civil liberties, mostly innocent people, and false flag them. And, you know, in a lot of, I'd say the vast majority are being experimented on by directed energy weapons. PSYOPs are being run on them. So they're also researching PSYOPs and how to hurt a person, how to, you know, create morbidity factors that stop a person from living their life. And what they say is they're like, well, we want to stop aggressive behaviors. But then what they really do is they take people who could go lead productive lives and have jobs, and they're like, well, let's stop them from having a job. Let's stop them from hanging out with their family. Let's stop them from having, you know, a relationship or getting married. And that's not a dangerous activity. They're not mitigating any kind of violence. They're saying they are, but they're mitigating a normal, positive life that can make people's communities better. So it's just, you know, this is terrifying. I think we all know that, but we aren't scared and we are fighting. Okay, guys, I have a lot more to go. Have a lot more information. I want to go through the websites, and thank you everybody who's in the chat. I'm gonna. Do we have any? Does anybody have any music requests? Because I want to play. I kind of want to play a song because I gotta go put my electronic cigarette on the thing, and I was gonna do a little intermission. Has anybody heard a song that's like really just pumped them up and gave them a whole lot of inspiration lately? Seldridge. Hey, Lynn Rom. Hey, Completely Supplied. Yeah, Completely Supplied said, let it be known I am a hard target. I am too. You got to be hard targets, guys. You got to all watch that that movie with, oh, I can't even remember his name. Jean-Claude Van Damme, Hard Target, where they're like chasing them through the swamps. And it's like, bone on the bayou. He's a hard target. Does anybody have a song that they really inspires them? Because I'm gonna go to my my backup song. My backup song is Danny Goki. Oh, wait, I want to play. Yeah, this is good. Okay, guys, I'll be right back.
Right
Still got a lot more to go
KFC
through.
Chicken Littles for $3. It doesn't get any better than that.
I'm gonna put my charger.
Actually, with 4 flavors to choose from, it did get better, and I stand corrected. Get any 2 KFC Chicken Littles for $3.
Okay, I'll be right back, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. The peanut is neither a pea nor nut. Talk amongst yourselves.
Sound Noel is ringing in my ears, and I can't understand why I'm not fixed by now. Begged and I have pleaded, take this pain, but I'm still bleeding. I trust you for certain. Head says it's not working. I'm stuck here, still hurting, but you tell me you're making a masterpiece. You sent me the soul in me. You know me where I can see it all I am. It's in your hands. You're taking me all apart, like you was your plan from the start. To finish away.
Probably gonna get a warning for playing this song.
black and blue, painted in mercy's hue. I don't see past this, but you see me now. Who I be then?
Nobody, you might be right. The peanut may be a pea, but it's not being nut. It's not a pea. Not true. Hey, Lauren, thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead. We're not going to listen to the whole song. We listened to half of it, though. Maybe at the end, I will play the whole song. But I didn't get any warnings for that one, so that's cool. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. I want to go to some of these websites. And somebody, I'll try harder to put the links. I'm screen sharing on Google Hangouts, so you should be able to get the links. Just, pause the video and you can get those links and just put them in. But I will try and put important ones in the description. I need to go back and do that on some of my other videos. Okay. So now I want to go to Louisiana. I live in Louisiana. Whatever state you're in, you can go to, Texas Analytical and Fusion Exchange. If you're in New York Fusion Centers. And I just want to read this. I want to read what they say because it's pretty hypocritical. And then they have their partners, people that work with them. Louisiana State Analytical and Fusion. You got suspicious activity. To report suspicious activity, click here. I'm sure that a lot of our gang stalkers, they just report that we have suspicious activity. If we're being targeted, they just make up stuff and report it. And since it's covered by national security, nobody really has to ask us if we really did that. They don't really need to check it out. And it can just kind of go into a file, a DHS Fusion Center file, so they can just keep stacking up the false reports. It's a real mess. And I think somebody said this. We might want to start reporting gang stalkers to DHS Fusion Centers and just get it really messed up. Get it, because it's with DHS Fusion Centers to InfraGuard to community watch organizations. It's all just a mess. And we may need to just start reporting these people to the same organizations that they're actually working for. See something, send something. So LA Safe, what is a fusion center? A fusion center is an effective and efficient mechanism to exchange information and intelligence, maximize resources, streamline operations, and improve the ability to fight crime and terrorism by analyzing data from a variety of sources. In addition, fusion centers are a conduit for implementing portions of the National Criminal Intelligence Sharing Plan, hereafter NCISP or plan. The NCISP is the blueprint for law enforcement administrators to follow when enhancing or building an intelligence function. The plan contains over 25 recommendations that were vetted by laws in ethical state, tribal, and federal agencies. It embraces intelligence-led policing, community policing, so community policing, intelligence-led policing, and collaboration, and serves as a foundation for the Fusion Center guidelines. Fusion Center is defined as a collaborative effort of two or more agencies that provide resources, expertise, and information to the center with the goal of maximizing their ability to detect, prevent, investigate, and respond to criminal and terrorist activity. The fusion process consists of turning the raw data that is received into actionable knowledge through the intelligence, the English, and analysis, dissemination, and reevaluation. So let's check that part out where it says the fusion process consists of turning the raw data that is received into actionable knowledge. So what's that actionable knowledge? I mean, as a targeted individual, I've had people gang stalking me, or if they want to call it patrolling or community policing, whatever. I consider it psyoping and gang stalking and turning it into actionable knowledge. What's that actionable knowledge? The only actions that I have happening to me is more gang stalking, more noise campaigns, and energy weapon torture, abuse, and experimentation. So they're running this gang stalking on us years and years and years, and there's never any action. There's never any arrests or anything because we haven't done anything. So that's a straight up lie right there. And I think that's why, like, the maintenance guy used to gang stalk me a lot. I don't really see him that much stalking me, because a lot of these people, like, if they really are good people and they think that they're helping their community, after a couple of years of you not going to jail and they start knowing you and knowing that you're not doing anything wrong, they're like, what are we doing? So that's why awareness is so important, because it can get some of those people to, at the very least, stop what they're doing. At the very least, the best, something great that could happen is that maybe they would start telling their stories about how, they were involved in this, which I think they signed something saying that, they could get put in jail or have a fine if they ever talk about any of this stuff. But who knows, Okay, so partners for DHS Fusion Centers, Custom and Border Patrol. I've had Border Patrol gang stalking me a lot. I have a Border Patrol actually right down the street from me. And I have a lot of Border Patrol vehicles that will come by me when I'm driving down the street and stuff like that. U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Department. So that's the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Department, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, GOH SEP, Gulf Coast High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, Louisiana National Guard, Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. I've also had Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries involved in my gang stalking, my vehicular gang stalking. Louisiana State Police. I've had tons of Louisiana State Police, in my gang stalking, either coming, like what the state police and the city police love to do is when I'm driving up a street, they love to cross it right when I'm driving up a street. They love to just cross right in front of it, like a kind of a T-shaped thing. That's what the state and the city police do to me a lot. Louisiana, Office of Technology Services, Louisiana Probation and Parole, and Homeland Security Investigation. So they've got all those people partnering up with them, and there's probably other ones that they're not saying. What was the next thing I wanted to go to? Okay, and so this is Citizens Corps, guys, and I want to show y'all something kind of scary here. So that's what they call the people who work for these DHS Fusion Centers, the citizens that work for them are called the Citizens Corps. So let's see, mission. The mission of Citizens Corps is to harness the power of every individual through education, training, and volunteer service to make communities safer, stronger, and better prepared to respond to the threats of terrorism, crime, public health issues, and disasters of all kinds through preparing the public for local risks with targeted outreach, engaging voluntary organizations to help augment resources for public safety, preparedness, and response capabilities, integrating the whole community and integrates non-traditional resource to ensure disaster preparedness. And that's, threats of terrorism, crime, public health issues. And I think that's sometimes why sometimes targets are actually labeled as there's like a public health issue having to do with us. I think that there's one targeted individual, he moderates calls, and he says that he gets a lot of people spreading around, and my attackers might be doing this to me, or the DHS Fusion Centers might be doing this to me, where they may say that you have some kind of disease or some kind of communicable disease, or STD or something like that. So then you become a public health issue, and then you're kind of, you know, then they can go after you. You know, they make up all kinds of excuses. I think for me, it's been, you know, that I am mentally unstable and maybe a danger to myself or others, that I'm on drugs maybe. And I'm not sure, I can't confirm these, but from the type of gang stalking, I know that drug use has definitely been one. Because during my gang stalking, I will get people who come up to me and they will just sniff. They'll sniff real loud. They'll go, you know, when they're by me. And then I also think that, you know, either I have or that the lie is going on in my community, that, you know, maybe I'm like a, you know, I don't even like saying it, but like a child diddler or something like that. And I think a lot of guys, I think even women who are targets, they get that lie put out there because who wouldn't, you know, watch somebody like that or cooperate in a community policing campaign to put some heat on a person like that. You know, who wouldn't? You know, because those people, I'd like to just walk up to them and punch them in the face. You know, do more than that. Let's the Citizens Corps program includes a national network of over 200 state, local, and tribal Citizen Corps councils, bring together local government, business, and community leaders who work to prepare their communities for disaster and to make them more resilient. Councils harness the power of every individual through education, training, and volunteer service to make communities safer, stronger, and better prepared to respond to the hazards and threats facing their community. Citizens Corps asks you to embrace the personal responsibility to be prepared, to get training in first aid and emergency skills, and to volunteer to support local emergency responders, disaster relief, and community safety. So, you know, this is what they do with any of these organizations that are doing unsavory activities against individuals and individuals. They put all this stuff up, all the good stuff, all the convenient stuff. You know, get first aid training, and you can volunteer to support your local emergency responders. But then they don't put in and also, you know, patrol innocent citizens while they're being microwaved. Or patrol people of interest, you know, because that's actually dangerous when you get citizens involved in that sort of thing, because they don't know what they're doing, you know, and especially, you know, with most of us targeted individuals who are getting hit with microwaves. You know, we have these people swarming us, just individual citizens who have no idea what they're doing. They've been told some, you know, given a script or given, you know, a place to go and meet you, or you know, to be at that place when you go there. And it's just totally, I mean, they just totally don't know what they're doing. FEMA Citizen Responder. Registering your Citizen Corps Council through the FEMA Citizen Responder website will better connect the public to community activities and initiatives that support disaster resilience. Locate a Citizen Corps Council near you on the FEMA Citizen Responder site, including contact information and upcoming events. Okay, this is the interesting part. So this is when the Citizens Corps was formed. Following the tragic events that occurred on September 11, 2001, state and local government officials increased opportunities for citizens to become an integral part of protecting the homeland and supporting the local first responders. So that's a huge thing. After September 11th, they said, hey, who wants to be a citizen, like a citizen soldier? We want some citizen soldiers, and you're going to be protecting the homeland, and you're going to be fighting terrorism. You know, the terrorists that live in our countries, you're going to be fighting them. But instead, they just created a lot of false flags, lied, and got these citizens, you know, harassing citizens to make a tyrannical state, to make it more tyrannical than it already is. And I know that sounds impossible, but they are. You know, they're making the United States and other countries that are supposed to have freedoms so tyrannical. And that's an obvious thing. So in January 2002, the President of the United States launched Citizens Corps to capture the spirit of service that emerged throughout our communities following the terrorist attacks. And I mean, that's, you know, I just want to throw this in. I don't want to go too much into it, but people, you know, it's funny that you that I believe that 9/11 was definitely an inside job and had a lot of people. It had the Mossad was involved, our own government was involved. You know, and people ask. You know, why would they do that? Why do you think that, you know, why would you think that our government or any kind of agencies would kill 3,000 people? What would be the point of that? But we see exactly why that happened, because then they got everybody. They can create all these programs that are draconian. They can go over and fight wars in the Middle East. You know, they can do all this stuff. Look into Operation Northwoods, you know, where they had already during the presidency of JFK, they had already been, you know, they had already been proposing to, you know, to crash or hijack airplanes with civilians on them, you know, so they could go to war with Cuba. You know, that argument of why would a false flag happen? Why would a country? What would be the point of that? Well, it's to get power. It's the Hegelian dialectic. Any person that ever asked you that, like, why would the United States be involved in the attacks of 9/11? Why would the Mossad be involved? Tell them, go look up the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. Create the problem, this huge terrorist attack, blame it on Osama bin Laden, and then anywhere we want to in the Middle East, we can do whatever we want to our people if we claim terrorism and national security. And that's what happens. So, you know, you see a lot of people who investigate 9/11. They're still investigating 9/11 still. And that's the crucial point in our history. Such a crucial point in our history where the Patriot Act came out and was written before it, but came out after it and started changing everything in all these horrible ways that we don't seem to be able to turn back. We don't seem to be able to turn back because all these things were like written in stone then, about the president being able to do whatever they wanted, about if it's not on U.S. soil, they can torture people. You know, different laws are the level they can't just go on the internet. If it's good for our national security and it's good for our weapons programs, that people don't have any rights anymore. So that's why countries do false flags. But I'm getting off, which is gang stalking. But crucial point in our history. Now, this is the scary part. Look, we've got a kids tab up here. So they're training kids to get ready to be in the Citizens Corps, to get ready to be a community watch, to get on your neighbors. You know, get ready for 1984, kids. Be a hero. Be a hero. Report your 80-year-old neighbor who somebody told you is maybe on drugs and is actually being microwaved. You know, be a hero. Disasters affect everyone, youth members, to help prepare. That's why you see, like, I actually had an incident in Walmart, and it was about a year ago, I think. I've had many incidents since then, but I had an incident in Walmart where it was a dad and his son, and I saw them coming in, and they had their phones, and they like looked at me and looked at their phones. And then while I was shopping at Walmart, I had this 14-year-old kid following me around. And later on, he met back up with his dad and everything like that. So his dad was like teaching him how to follow somebody around in a Walmart, how to gang stalk somebody. And I guarantee you they were probably part of Citizens Corps. Either Citizens Corps, InfraGard, or some kind of community watch program attached to DHS fusion centers. And now it's like, guys, I want to go through this information because, you know, a lot of targeted individuals, we want to simplify it and say, oh, it's the CIA, or oh, it's, you know, it's this group. It's definitely InfraGard doing all the gang stalking, or you know, it's you know, even some people go to, okay, it's people being remote neural manipulated to the gang stalking, and they're not actually a part of any agency. But what we see here, and this is why I wanted to show, and I have a lot more information to go through tonight, but what we see here is that it's in general not complicated. It's a bunch of agencies and everything working together, trying to fuse law enforcement together with government, trying to fuse NSA together with DOD, and get all these people working to consolidate power. To consolidate power and to be able to do these draconian things, these torture programs, these experimentation programs, these PSYOP programs. So it gets complicated when you're talking about who's doing what and who's doing what when, but it's very simple in a big picture way. It's organizations coming down from the DOD, corporations with certain corporations with certain clearances, and then all these agencies attached to DHS and NSA and Homeland Security, trying to fuse in local. They're trying to fuse in all these local agencies, because what I believe that we should be state-run. Like a state should decide how to police its people. The state should decide most of the things. We should have small government. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to make local government federal. So then they can just do whatever. Everybody's going to have to go along with a monotone, draconian plan, and states won't get to decide. Like sheriff police and state police, they just have to do whatever is mandated from a federal system, and they really have no choice of how they want to do things in their own state. And that's how they can make things this draconian. That's how they can make things don't ask questions. You know, some people don't know that we're being microwaved, some do, but they still go. It's a mandate. It's a federal mandate from our country. You know, and other countries are doing the same thing to consolidate power. The more consolidated power is at the top, the more draconian things we're going to see, the more tyranny we're going to see. And well, I mean, that we do see. I keep talking in future tense, you know, but it's already here, and it's been here for a while. I'd like to say that it's not getting worse. You know, I'd love to say that, but kind of is. Okay, so then we go to InfraGard. I'm just going to read this Wikipedia article on InfraGard. Okay, InfraGard is a nonprofit organization serving as a public-private partnership. Public-private partnership. So public agencies such as the FBI, private agencies such as businesses, local businesses, what else is private? But mainly local businesses. Partnership between U.S. businesses and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The organization is an information sharing and analysis effort serving the interests and combining the knowledge base of a wide range of private sector and government members. InfraGard is an association of individuals that facilitates information sharing and intelligence between businesses, academic institutions, state and local law enforcement agencies, and other participants dedicated to prevent hostile acts against the United States. InfraGard's mutual non-disclosure agreements among its members, individuals, and the FBI promotes trusted discussions of vulnerabilities and solutions that companies and individuals may be hesitant to place in the public domain, and provide access to additional threat information from the FBI. So when did this thing start? InfraGard began in Cleveland, Ohio field office in 1996 and has since expanded to become a national level program with InfraGard coordinators in every FBI field office. Originally, it was a local effort to gain support from the information technology industry and academia for the FBI's investigative efforts in the cyber arena, but it has since expanded to a much wider range of activities surrounding the national's critical infrastructure. The program expanded to other FBI field offices in 1998. The FBI assigned national program responsibility for InfraGard to a former National Infrastructure Protection Center directed by RADM James B. Playhall and the FBI's Cyber Division in 2003. Since 2003, InfraGard alliances and the FBI said that they have developed a trust-based public-private sector partnership. Public-private. See, they're trying to fuse not only federal and local, but they're also trying to fuse military-industrial complex, public and private sectors. Governmental sectors, the DOD, with private businesses. So if they can control from a hierarchy, local and federal, where the local becomes federal, then what does the private business become? It becomes an agency of the government. If it's working hand in hand with the DoD is paying it, and people within that private business or that private contractor they have government clearances, then it basically becomes a government agency. So you see what they're doing. They're really tricky, and they're like, well, we want partnerships. We want to fuse partnerships between public and private, but really what they want to do is they want to turn private into public so they can control it. Military industrial complex, and then huge government, huge tyrannical government, because the bigger government is, and now we're seeing that in our states, our local states, they have federal mandates. So basically, we have big government in all of our states. We have big government from the top in all of our states. That is a recipe, as we're seeing the recipe. I mean, we got a baked cake here. It's not just a recipe, right? For horrible, horrible tyranny. So all these things that they say, we're fusing all these things and cooperation is good and blah, blah, blah. And they present it as very convenient and very, it's just going to help us to do a lot more stuff. It's really power grabs. Whenever you hear anybody saying, you know, we're trying to do this for convenience and so that everybody can partner up and put their input in, power grab, trying to control all of the sectors. So you don't have an independent sheriff's office making their own investigations. You don't have an independent city police doing their own investigations. You have them all in the same mandated, shut your mouth when you see somebody who's a targeted individual, send the file number to this FBI office if you see somebody who's on this, and so they can control all this top-down hierarchical pyramid, horrible tyranny. So I mean, and they've pretty much done that. I don't know how we would separate it all again now. So let's see. Okay, to ensure reliability and integrity of information exchanged about various terrorism, intelligence, criminal, and security matters. It supports FBI priorities in the areas of counterterrorism, foreign counterintelligence, and cybercrime. And I was watching a video earlier, and they were saying how like all these agencies, you know, they started, and it's like it's all about counterterrorism, right? It's all about counterterrorism. We got DHS fusion centers for counterterrorism, directed energy weapons for counterterrorism, all this stuff for national security counterterrorism. And what they really are doing, and this is a fact, it's not even something that it's 100%, they are creating domestic terrorism in all sectors. In all sectors, be it private, be it public, be it governmental, be it local, they're creating domestic terrorism and confusion on almost every level and paying good money into keeping that terrorism going. So it's amazing what they've done and how if they compartmentalize certain people, like, so there's people who work for DHS fusion centers, right? And then there's us. So these people in DHS fusion centers, they're like, oh, we're helping our communities and all these people are evil and they're crazy and we're helping terrorism. And we're like, whoa, hold on. We're not terrorists. We're just regular people. What are you doing? You're gang stalking us. You're terrorists. So each side thinks the other side is terrorist, right? What does that create? That creates chaos. That creates confusion and doesn't help anything and creates domestic terrorism. Okay, so purpose. InfraGard is focused on protecting the 16 critical infrastructures outlined by Presidential Directive 21. Critical infrastructure security and resilience by sharing threat information, assisting the FBI in finding and prosecuting those who attack critical infrastructure through physical or cyber means, provide training for active shooter scenarios, cyber defense, and any other threats against the nation. The organization is committed to providing the tools and resources needed by those who own and operate the nation's critical infrastructure to protect their enterprises and maintain the services necessary for a safe and prosperous nation. Okay, so I just wanted to show y'all, DHS fusion centers, InfraGard. I'm sure a lot of y'all already, know about these agencies. Then I wanted to kind of go to National Neighborhood Watch. And these are all the organizations that are interlinked, but the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So you could get Community Watch told to gang stalk you, you know, from whatever contractor is actually doing the electronics corpse work, the microwaving you and doing remote neural monitoring. So they get in touch with Neighborhood Watch through the sheriff's department, and they say, hey, we need you to gang stalk this guy and patrol him, whatever, and they give him information. Then they do the same thing with DHS fusion centers. Then they do the same thing with InfraGard. Then in all these three people they may know, like I'm not sure of how that detailedly works, but I'm sure in a lot of percentage, like a lot of cases, that the people doing the community policing or harassment from Neighborhood Watch don't know what people who are working for DHS fusion centers are. You know, it's all under one umbrella, but the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. So they're just mobbing a targeted individual and you know, not knowing what other agencies are doing in that. So it really is, I think it really is a cluster F at the bottom. I think with these people who are working these weapons on us, they know, they have a bird's eye view of what they're doing and everything like that. But there's so much, even more corruption than just the initial corruption, because they're like, hey, there's no oversight, so we can totally overload this target and get this agency doing the same exact thing as this other agency. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of confusing. I'm saying it kind of confusing, but I think it's really a cluster F down at the bottom. And it's pulled off like we're only seeing what we're seeing. We're seeing the people show up where we are, doing the vehicular stalking, walking out at the same time. So it looks like this really it looks like this really well organized greased, but so much clear that you may have some gang stalkers that never show up or don't show up at the same time as you, but there's one of them's going to show up at the same time as you. One of them's going to do the actual, you know, stalking, because you got working at it. They're doing a percenting. I don't know if I'm explaining. I'm really my brain is not doing very well right now, but let us continue. So welcome to National Neighborhood Watch, division of the National Sheriff's Association. So Neighborhood Watch is under the Sheriff's Department in most cities. And Sheriff's Departments are also working for DHS fusion centers. So I'm guessing that, you know, the Sheriff's Association or the Sheriff's Department would give information to fusion centers about what they're doing with Community Watch. You know, so there probably is some information flow. I'm just saying, you know, because there's no oversight and it doesn't matter where the money's going to, I don't think these people really care about how, you know, oh, well, we've put this many stalkers on this targeted individual, so let's not spend any more money on that. I think it's just like, you know, just as much money as you can, put it all in. And also we don't, you know, sometimes you are assigned stalkers around you, but when you go out in the city, it's mostly, you know, gang stalkers who are just, you know, working a certain area because there's so many targeted individuals. Okay, so NSA is proud to present blah, 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 new national blah, blah, new National Neighborhood Watch program. National Neighborhood Watch began in 1972 with funding in part by the National Sheriff's Association through a grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, Office of Justice Programs, U.S. Department of Justice. Wow, reading. Got to learn how to do that. The funding from the grant has come to an end, and we don't want to lose any of the movement or excellent resources we have available on this site. The funding from the grant has come to an end. I bet you they got it again. Our nation is built on the strength of our citizens. Every day we encounter situations calling upon us to be the eyes and ears of law enforcement. They're the eyes and ears of law enforcement, creeping and crawling in our communities and making up stuff and going off of false information. They are the eyes and the ears. when they go off of false information of somebody who's just an innocent citizen, they've been told they're dangerous or something, then they see you walking in your yard and they're like, oh, he was walking in his yard, and you're like carrying your phone, and they're like, I was told he was dangerous and it's a bomb, you know, the phone is a bomb. Or like what's happened to me a lot of times is false reports of me having a knife when I don't even own a knife. Maybe the people who were told all these lies about me in my neighborhood really thought they saw a knife because they had been told that I'm so dangerous, you know. So this is stupid. You know, this stuff is stupid. Not only does Neighborhood Watch allow citizens to help in the fight against crime, it is also an opportunity for communities to bond through service. The Neighborhood Watch program draws upon the compassion of average citizens, the compassion of those gang stalkers who like to hurt people and make money for just, you know, for harassing somebody and just hanging out at their house and walking outside whenever you walk out, or staying in their house and banging on your wall, or flushing their toilet at the same time you walk into the bathroom. Those passionate average citizens, they're destroying this country and could not give one F. Asking them to lend their neighbors a hand. The National Neighborhood Watch Program, formerly USA on Watch, is the portal for training to assist law enforcement agencies and their communities. Technical assistance, resource documents, watch stories, networking, and assistance to the field. I'm going to jump to the end on this. The National Neighborhood Watch Program empowers citizens to become active in community efforts through participation in neighborhood watch groups. And then that big disclaimer, due to the large number of neighborhood watch groups across the country, policing and investigating the neighborhood watch groups on a national level is not something we have the resources and capability to routinely do. Basically saying, you know, the sheriff's department has oversight of these people, but if the sheriff's department is corrupt, which it is if it's working with DHS fusion centers and targeting, then basically these neighbors and these community watch people can do whatever they want to do, and they will be protected because we can't really police them or investigate them. All right, let's see if there was anything. Okay, I do want to show this, and this is also, again, I got most of my stuff, most of the videos, and I'm going to watch all of his videos, and I subscribe to him. Subscribed to this a long time ago, but I subscribed to his Inner Light just tonight. So First Amendment to the United States Constitution is his YouTube channel, and I want to go ahead and play this. It's called Fusion Centers, Federal Department's Police, linked to gang stalking operations.
Greetings, fellow TIs. This document that you are seeing right now is an unclassified document not meant for public viewing. And its military partners are tied to local fusion centers, which are comprised of local police departments, the Central Intelligence Agency, the FBI, DIA at times, and many components of this gang stalking movement. Now, they're being encouraged as partners to visit familytreenow.com, and it shares some steps that people can take to opt out of these background check websites, because these fusion centers are highly aware that if someone's being harassed and they're able to find out who these people work for, it can end up leading to lawsuits. And we know non-disclosure agreements are being used to shield these people and give them immunity.
And I mean, that says it right there, guys. That says it right there. If somebody is harassing us and we know exactly who they work for, we can sue the crap out of whoever they work for you know, for smashing our civil rights. That's why all this is, they say it's national. This is the trick. This is the trick. They say, oh, this is all for national security and we can't really give away information because we don't want the terrorists to know what we're doing and stuff like that. But it's really covering their asses, because if people found out what they were doing, they would get sued into the ground for taking away, and the person that they're, you know, like me or like you guys, I haven't committed any crimes. Y'all haven't committed any crimes. And as a matter of fact, you know, we're being experimented on and tortured. If we, you know, we do know who these people work for, I think we need to start bringing suits forth You know, I think first of all, I think a priority is the directed energy weapons and the neuro weapons. But there is going to be a time where we can bring some suits forward to DHS fusion centers and InfraGard. And that's why they hide the information, because they know there's so much liability. They are liable for so much draconian torture and harassment that has no justification and is all false flags. That's why they keep all this stuff hidden. They say it's for national security, so the bad guys don't know what we're doing, and it's like being a secret agent, stuff like that. But it's really so they don't get the pantsuit off of them.
And we know that the U.S. government has no business harassing U.S. citizens. That is the case, though, fellow TIs. I've actually caught members of the U.S. Army, a tremendous amount of women, too, playing some really sick games, which have been linked to some highly serious events. We need to expose this program, people. This is being done in secret. This document, I promise you, you're not going to find it in a law library. You're going to find it in military facilities and their military partners. Now, what is our military doing to ensure that people aren't being systematically harassed? It's one thing if you're doing surveillance, but it's another thing if you're systematically harassing people with a bunch of women and a person's sick and tired of it and has been repeatedly stating to stop it. Now, this is no joke. I have gone out of the way to track these people, I mean, in a manner which they have no idea, where I've had to use separate cell phones, disconnect on-store at times, do different things to show a different signal. I've done all types of stuff to find out the people behind my harassment. I've had to hop fences. I've had to go in offices. I've had to do what is necessary to protect myself from these people and to gather intel. So that way, when I'm confronted, when this thing goes down, where people try to say libel or slander, I'm going to say, okay, this is what I have. And it's going to be real nasty. I mean, real nasty. But I have to live here. And I want people to know that I'm a good person. My only objective is to stop this organized harassment program. Because I would like to go to school. You know, I want to be one day in a state where I can raise a family, be able to take a walk without being harassed by neighbors and a lot of uneducated police officers and people that think they're high and mighty and can just run over people. And I respect some law enforcement officers, but you know, a lot of them, the ones I meet that know about these programs, support it. And not only do they support it, they don't give a person the benefit of the doubt. They don't try to use, polygraph tests. They don't try to communicate and say, hey, we're being told some stuff about you that we really don't like. We want to keep an eye out on you. We're not going to harass you. We're not going to harm you. We're going to monitor you. So if you see that, don't be shaken up. Don't be shaken up. Don't be freaked out. Then I'd have been like, hey, that's cool. I have nothing to hide.
All right, guys. So I just wanted to show that. Trying to think if I have anything else. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is this is straight from Homeland Security. It's www.dhs.gov. State and major urban area fusion centers. State and major urban area fusion centers. Fusion centers operate as state and major urban area focal points for their seat analysis, gathering, and sharing of threat-related information between federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, and private sector partners. Building law enforcement and DHS partnerships. So this is just the Homeland Security page for DHS fusion centers. Let's see their mission statement. Fusion Center Foundation deployed intelligence. I like their mission statement because it says all this crap about protecting our civil liberties and everything like that. I don't think they have a statement about DHS. Okay, about DHS. Okay, look at this mission. Here we go. This is a joke. Okay, so I'm about to read y'all a joke. With honor and integrity, we will safeguard the American people, our homeland, and our values, which they are doing the opposite. Our missions include preventing terrorism, enhancing security, managing our borders, administering immigration laws, securing cyberspace, and ensuring disaster resilience. But it's really, preventing normal people from living their lives while assisting torture and experimentation on innocent civilians. Let's see what they have in this. I might stop it in the middle if it's too sickening. Oh, it's all the happy people. Yeah, I don't think I can watch that. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to watch that. Now I want it to go to, okay, this is from, I think this is the same guy. This is Inner Light. And I wanted to, I'll end with some of his talking points. But I wanted to go to this. I found something really interesting. Let's see. Today's okay, here it is. The 1994 Memorandum of Understanding between DoD and DOJ on gang-stalking operations other than war and law enforcement. So let's go check this out. This was released with the Freedom of Information Act right here. So in 1994, Memorandum of Understanding between DoD and DOJ on military operations other than war and law enforcement, recently released via FOIA request, may provide the smoking gun evidence that the U.S. government, military, and police departments have been covertly testing advanced technologies developed by ARPA, Advanced Research Programs Agency. The following document spells out that advanced weapons technologies, including non-lethal weapons and C4ISR command control communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance technologies, are secretly being tested, developed, and deployed by DOJ and police departments for OOTW, military ops other than war. So I want to show you all this FOIA request and what they released. What they released here about other actions other than war. So memorandum, and this links into gang stalking because they're trying to fuse law enforcement with military agencies and the NSA and everything like that. Meanwhile, with these directed energy weapons, the directed energy weapon torture, psyops, experimentation, neuroweapons, these agencies, along with law enforcement, and I'm not sure how much law enforcement knows, and if they do know, how many of them in each know about microwave weapons. And I think they all probably know about microwave weapons, but I don't know how many of law enforcement know like that we are being experimented on with these things. Probably a good percentage do. But okay, so memorandum of understanding between Department of Defense and Department of Justice on operations other than war and law enforcement. So general, this memorandum of understanding, MOU, sets forth an agreement between the Department of Defense and the Department of Justice to conduct a program to enhance Department of Defense operations other than war and DOJ and other law enforcement operations through a sharing and joint development to the extent permitted by law. That's a joke. That is a joke. Of technology and systems applicable to both. This MOU stems from recent findings of DoD's Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA, probably I'd say DARPA. I think that's what they mean, DARPA. And DOJ's National Institute of Justice and Federal Bureau of Investigation concerning the application of advanced technology to law enforcement. In general, these findings reflect a growing convergence between the technology required for military operations and the technology required for law enforcement. Moreover, recent technological advances suggest a current ability to enhance the effectiveness of both other than war and law enforcement missions. So that's what they're talking about here. They're talking about other than war, PSY operations, experiments with directed energy weapons, getting law enforcement involved with like DHS fusion centers, you know, and with the DOD, so that you know, I know this sounds it's complicated to me about how all these interactions are going on a detailed way. Like, okay, so how much does law enforcement know when they're working with DHS fusion centers, or law enforcement is working with the DOD and the DOD is giving them certain technologies? How much are they giving them? But in general, it's easy to know that all these agencies are working together, are being meshed together, and are protecting each other. You know, protecting each other and protecting this whole, basically a military mission. So you've got more private businesses protecting national security and protecting non-consensual human experimentation, because it's the mission, right? It's their big mission of what they're doing. They're in the military industrial complex. And now it's like they're trying to pull law enforcement in every country into the military industrial complex, so that they can have the enforcers, the law, the policemen that I once trusted to do the right thing because they were run by the state. They did things to make the state better. They had laws to protect the citizens. But now they're really working for the military industrial complex. They're pulling in law enforcement to be part of the military industrial complex. And I think that's probably already happened. And that's why we see that I don't have cops helping me with this. I've called the cops 1,000,000 times. They will not help me with this. They will not say anything about it, yet they will participate in gang stalking. And they may, a lot of TIs think that they have police that are actually hitting them with these directed energy weapons. I know in my case that it is actually contractors. It may be a contractor along with the hospital. But, in some people's cases, they think and police do have their hands on these. So, the details of it, who's doing what, gets kind of complicated, but the general idea of what's happening, we can see the general idea of what's happening with all of these agencies fusing and basically being just subsumed into the military industrial complex. So concept, the program objective is to develop and exploit advanced technology and systems that will permit accomplishment of other than war and law enforcement missions. The agreement establishes a development and application program based on competent technologies, components, and systems. Testing and objective evaluation will ensure the quality of the competition. Implementation. This is a 5-year MOU extendable upon agreement of the parties. Day-to-day management of the program will be the responsibility of the Joint Program Steering Group. The chairman of the JPSG shall be a member of the ARPA staff, while the deputy chairman shall be appointed by the DOJ. Technical program managers will be provided by both signatories. The JPSG shall identify technologies of interest, formulate program plans, manage development, conduct technology demonstrations and evaluations, develop transition strategies, and report on progress. User organizations designated by the signatories or test bed units will test and evaluate transitioning products. So transitioning products could be, non-lethal weapons such as tasers and things like that, but also, remote, the remote microwaving platforms or remote directed energy weapons platforms also. We don't know. I really don't know, if there are some groups of law enforcement that are doing people's torture. For mine, it seems like it's not. It seems like it's ex-military for contractors, but I can't say 100% that, hey, there are no law enforcement groups actually doing some torture. I actually supplement. If they're supplementing or if they're doing the whole all of it, you know, because I was actually, when I first knew that I was targeted, about a year after, no, about 2 years after I knew I was targeted, I was running down the street and there was a K9 unit, a sheriff's car, K9 unit, and it was all had tinted windows and everything like that. And it was parked in the middle of like a four-lane highway, kind of around some neighborhoods. And I was jogging on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden I got this like horrible cramp in the back of my thigh, and I couldn't walk. It's like the muscle like contracted up, and like I fell down. Like I couldn't even, I was running and I fell down because my legs stopped working. And I like looked back at that car, and I, you know, I have a feeling and a great suspicion. I mean, I'm almost 100% on this, but I feel like that sheriff, there was a ground-based weapon hitting me in the leg. So, you know, you've got that kind of participation with stalking, with gang stalking and directed energy weapon torture, where police will supplement. I'm not sure if they have any teams, because I do think the teams that are on these remote platforms are ex-military working for these contractors, but you've got a lot of police supplementing it. And you guys comment in the comments if you think, if you want to comment about this, if you think that the attackers that are doing this to you are actually law enforcement. That are just they're law enforcement. They're on this platform. They're hitting you with the remote weapons. For me, that is not the case. I don't think that's the case in a large percentage of this, but you know, who knows? You know, who knows? The remainder of FY94 will be devoted to choosing testbed units and beginning selected efforts. During the first quarter of FY95, the JPSG members will physically move to ARPA in order to begin intensive management of the joint other than war and law enforcement program. The JSPG will consist of at least one representative from ARPA and one representative from the Army and 2 representatives from the DOJ. So check this FOIA request out of this relationship between the Department of Defense and Department of Justice on getting the military and law enforcement together, and these technologies used for both, and working on, you know, getting out testing these new technologies and things like that. Who would they test the technologies on? Citizens. They would test these technologies on citizens, on people. So I think that's about. I did want to read this real quick. I might save it for next time. We might go out with this guy. Oh man, where is it? He had some good things to say, and I kind of wanted to go out with some of his testimony here. Can't find him. Okay, here. I think it's here. Mm-hmm. Okay, here it is. Yeah, I might save some of the other stuff that I wanted to present for the next video. I don't think this is it. Is this it? No. Man, I had it up just a second ago. I thought I could just go back to it. Where is it? Sorry about this, guys. Ooh, I want to read that. This is all from www.gangstalkingmindcontrolcults.com from oh geez, I can't remember his name. He's like one of my favorite people talking about this. Oh gosh, I really can't remember his name, guys. Help me out in chat. Eric Karlstrom. Sorry about that. I wanted to just find those videos that I've looked up. I'll find it. I think it's up here. This might be it. Purpose, structure, methods. Nope. Hold on, I'm gonna find this. Gangstalking. Okay, that's where this was, and then it was like right here. Oh man. I thought it was right here. Okay, here it is. Yeah, this last one was pretty good, and I think this is the same guy. Inner Light and the First Amendment to the United States. Okay. Oh. All right. Y'all can tell I'm getting tired. I just wanted to play a little bit of his testimony.
Now, a lot of people have no idea how deep this gang stalking goes. It goes as deep as our own system. See, the Department of Defense has something, a terminology called joint targeting. And joint targeting is done through NGOs like the Citizens Corps. Now, I'm making this video because I want people to understand the depths of community mobbing and gang stalking, which is perpetrated through our system. It's done to cause harm to an individual through a method of not touching them physically. It's a no-touch torture method, which is used by people that have experience in psyops, or psychological warfare. It's being taught to Citizens Corps, neighborhood watch groups, even kids and people in universities and colleges in an effort to cause a person to deliberately lash out. So these people have been trained in human psychology and human behavior to know methods which will cause a human being to lash out in anger. So they use every method that would cause any rational or any normal human being to lash out. So notice.
And guys, that's the huge element of the false flag. Like, I say this a lot, or I haven't been saying it lately, but I did say it a lot, and I need to keep saying it. And we all need to. We live in a false flag culture. We live in a culture where false flags have been carried out all throughout history. But now, with the hierarchy, having studied history and knowing how successful false flags can be, like when there is no reason for an attack, and somebody attacks somebody on purpose to start a war, or like 9/11, many other false flags, some of these shootings going on and things like that. I would say the majority of shootings going on. They understand that this will mobilize people. Problem, reaction, solution. Hegelian dialectic, false flags. Those are two things, the two really huge things that the hierarchy and these covert agencies use to get what they want. Because problem, reaction, solution for a regular person, what would that be? You'd have a problem and you react to it and you solve it. A problem that you didn't start. That would be a normal person. But and I've said this a lot too, with these agencies, what they do is they make a problem, they create the problem that creates a lot of problems for people. Then they say, oh, we have this solution. And then they take they take the reaction and they create another problem. So let's take an example. Okay, so Myron May acted out. Myron May acted out and went and shot up a library. He was targeted hardcore with V2K. So they created that problem. They hit Myron May so hard, he got desperate. He went out and did something stupid. And then they say, oh, look, this mentally ill guy, he shot up these people in the library. So we need to have more money for DHS fusion centers. We need to have more money in these programs of surveilling people, because look at how dangerous people are. So they caused it, then they want more money, and then they cause more problems. So their solution isn't peace. Their solution isn't, hey, how do we help people live good lives and how do we protect them? Their solution is money and control. How do we get more money and control? How do we get more money and control? So how they get more money and control is continually running this Hegelian dialectic to where it's destroying everything and destroying everything and destroying everything, but they're getting more control. They're getting more money. They're getting more control. So in normal people, problem, reaction, solution, a problem happens that you had nothing to do with, you react to it, you fix it, you find a solution, done, for the good of everybody. But these evil people in the hierarchy, their Hegelian dialectic keeps going in a cycle, because their cycle is create problems, create problems, create problems, get more money for these agencies, because the problems we created, we'll just say that they just happened on their own, and then we'll create more problems, we'll get more control and more money and more power. So you know, I agree with this man that they're not trying to keep communities safe. I think we all know that. I think this is common sense, but I'm just saying it anyway. They're trying to create problems. They're trying to make people act out. They're trying to make things look dangerous and stir things up so they can say, well, we need more money for these agencies that are going to protect us. And then the people who are dumb enough to actually believe that or be involved in community stalking, you know, they're like, yeah, we need to rally and we need to do this. And they don't even know what they're doing, and they're causing more problems. And in the meantime, the military industrial complex in the top of the hierarchy, they're getting more control. They're getting more federal control. They're getting more money. They're getting more technology. They're advancing at the top and keeping us in a state where we can be controlled, and more hurt, because we have no control over our own communities. It's people who are just robotically, they get stuff put in their head. I'm not talking about remote neural manipulation. I'm talking about these gang stalkers. They get lies told to them and put in their head. They may get, you know, a lot of them may get remote neural manipulated too. But it's just they get fed this bull, and then they go out and they create harm in their own communities, and they say, oh, look how bad this is. We've got to get more people in the community on community watch, and they create more problems. And it's just this endless cycle of never coming up to a solution that a normal person would say, that's a solution. We fixed it. We fixed things and people are safer now. Because that's not the solution of the people in power. Their solution isn't everybody being safe. Their solution, their main solution is we got control of people and we got all the technology and we got all the money. So we got to understand that their solution isn't keeping everybody safe.
That these people do not care about your civil liberties, your constitution. It's garbage to them. A lot of these people have made an oath to defend America and protect our Constitution, but are not for the Constitution. So what's happened is these methods, these Stasi type techniques are being passed down to corporations, NGOs, which are unlisted on any Department of Defense website, and they're being used. Organizations, NGOs, corporations are being used to conduct surveillance and security on behalf of the system. So that way, it will not be linked to the system. Same thing for Citizens Corps. They are being ran by pretty much DHS, but they're categorized as a non-GO, a non-governmental organization. There's a reason why. And when we look at all the directors, we find out that a huge majority of them are all secret society members, Freemasons. So I have nothing against them. But what I find strange is that when we look at the people being used, we find out that all these people are people that are not marginalized, that all have the right to make a livable wage, to get a mortgage, to rent, date. But then when we look at those that are marginalized, are women, we see that a lot of times the ones that are targeted have the potential have the skills or degrees to live a normal life, but due to the psychological trauma and abuse they've experienced, they no longer care about the money. That's the same thing for me. Due to all the psychological harassment and abuse, I no longer care about the money so much. I'm more concerned about my own well-being, my own state of mind. So these people do not take into account that their harassment poses a direct threat to our national security and to our community. And they do this persistently everywhere you go with intent to cause harm to you. So, hold on 1 second, my cigarette turned out. So, they want to remove you any way possible through making you sick, to be institutionalized, incarcerated, or financially impoverished. So they're not interested in helping you out. They're not interested in your family's past, and maybe your grandfather fought to serve for this country, took bullets for this country. They're not interested in helping you get a skill which will allow you to live like a normal human being in America. They're not your friends, people. We are now devoted more to domestic terrorism than we are counterterrorism. That's the problem, is that we've spent so many billions of dollars for FEMA, DHS, and other corporations that we're more interested in how we can target people and hurt people than help people. So this targeting can happen through your workforce development centers, through your schools, the cooperation of DHS, FEMA, and the FBI. Now, it's quite interesting when we look at the articles that have been published from different quarters concerning statements from the FBI. They're always saying every year we're removing the ADL and the Southern Poverty Law Center from our databases, because they were using these databases to target people. The majority of these people were Republicans at one time, but now, thank God, we have a more conservative president. So now things are changing, as people are having to change their manners and how they treat people. We were actually targeting veterans with ties to no groups just because of income levels, or maybe they were single. So we were targeting based on the probability of an event. So we have all this targeted case management. We have all these programs for like crime prevention that are based on computers, but it's all a bunch of bull crap. So in many cases it can work. There's potential for it, but I don't believe we've reached that state yet at all, because only the creator can determine the fate of a man, in my opinion. So people say there's no such thing as predestination. I believe in it. I believe that we're all predestined, so that God has a purpose for us. So I want to keep going about talking about this targeting. So targeting is happening through NGOs, and these NGOs, what happens is that they're getting paid. They can't stop the targeting until you lose it. They don't consider the fact that you're a human being trying to live here, that wants to, rent, that wants to date, have sex, but because of all the cyber attacks, because of all the bullying in every area of the person's life, some of these people lash out. Now, I have caught these people entering supermarkets, U.S. schools. I was living in one place where the same helicopter was going over my roof by 8 feet. I actually was able to measure the exact distance from a tree, because I used to climb this tree and take pictures of birds and stuff. So it was 8 feet over my house. One day I went for a drive 50 miles away from my house and seeing this same helicopter descending down to the same place that I was with a woman looking at the water, enjoying the sunset. They came down, were so low that little pebbles were flying towards me. They were waving. That's when this was 50 miles from my house. They landed at a naval base on Panama City Beach. Then I started having encounters with people in black SUVs with the star logos, people that were Freemasons, neighborhood watch groups, Citizens Corps. I mean, it was just nonstop, firefighters, EMS. So know that these movements are not about helping you to reintegrate back into society. They're not about helping you to rise above your current state, but it's all about how they can harm you, psychologically harm you as much as humanly possible. Now, some of these movements are based on research. They don't care what happens. They don't care if your kids are killed. They don't care if you're killed. They don't care if you've been harassed so much you lash out. And I want to encourage Americans to not do that. What happened with like Omar Martin, we have to realize that our intelligence agencies want to look at the person's past and blame past abusive relationships. But what these people do is they use police, and they also use police, and they also use people within the system, contractors. Now, Omar Martin was part of GS4, which is Department of Homeland Security's largest contractor. Now, we know that the Department of Homeland Security has a long history of human rights abuses, like what happened with Julia Davis. You know, the FBI, they have a history of abuse. Most of our terrorist attacks have happened because of from our own system. We give them the guns and the money to commit acts, and then we arrest them. And sometimes they fail, like, what's that one guy's name? Tim McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber. Yeah, we accidentally gave him the wrong explosives. I mean, how can we mess up on something like that? So it makes no sense. So a lot of things are actually engineered. You actually engineer a lot of these different things and hide, and then the people that hide behind the flags. Oh, I didn't mean it. It was an accident. There's no accidents. We're already 17. If we haven't figured out that community mobbing, targeting is not helping people, then we got a serious problem. We got a real serious problem. We got to have some type of mental deficiency. Maybe we got to give these people vitamin A, vitamin B, or D, because it's idiotic. And we're using tactics meant to be used on people that we're fighting against overseas. We're in America. We're not in China. You know, we're doing these tactics to people out here in these ghettos. My God, I've seen these kids out here that have stuff that should be put on a base in a museum, like a princess. I'm like, there's all types of stuff out here, and we're doing this to people that are non-threatening, non-combative. They don't have any weapons. Like in my case, I don't have weapons. I'm not Muslim. I'm not part of no group. So we are actually using people also that are private investigators, large firms. There's one called Straightforward, or like STRA, I can't even pronounce it, Straightforward. So anyway, there's so many different large corporations. They're being used by the FBI, DOD, surveillance workers, role players, and people abuse these programs, especially FBI contractors. They severely abuse these programs. We even have operations being conducted by clandestine agencies here in our communities on U.S. soil, thanks to these fusion centers. So there's a tremendous amount of abuses occurring in our country that we need to be mindful of and realize that people are just human beings. People just want to wake up and be able to eat, put gas in their car, go to work, live harassment-free lives. Now, Citizens Corps, what they do is they deliberately try to harass people. Now, if you look at my video called Gangstalking in America, you will see black and white cars. I can find them nowhere else in this county besides local police. Where videos that are coming out of the Citizens Corps building, and I've gone to school where people are coming in black shirts, shaking my hands, or teachers going along with the program. Black and white cars parked only next to me at school. This is everywhere I'm going. This is systematic. I'm being systematically harassed and provoked. So what we do is we systematically provoke people. We're engineering terrorism in our own country. We need to speak against the people. Now, I'm a good person, but they're doing this to people that are dangerous. The best thing we can do is just block them away. But force people to lash out because they want to go to school and get an education so they can leave this country. So, if I really wanted to remove Citizens Corps at a meeting, that could be taken care of real easily. But I'm a nonviolent person. I don't believe in removing national security threats from my country because I'm not paid for it. That's our national security agency's right to remove these people, not mine. I don't get paid to stand for dignity or indignity. But they do pose an extreme threat to the United States government and our national security agencies. If they had any idea of things that I've recorded, they would be telling them to please stop committing acts of terrorism against our government. So I'm a nonviolent person. I believe in peace. I believe in love. I've known for years, and when I mean years, over a decade, I know that the sheriffs, the police, I know a lot of what these idiots do. I've paid people to hack, get cell phone records, go through trash. I know what bases some of these people come from, what contractors. So this movement is occurring more than ever all across America due to mass funding. We're giving
millions and billions to police, law enforcement, DHS. So all this harassment is being outsourced from your block watch captains, local police. It goes all the way down to DOD, a lot of times even your lieutenant governor, state governor, which direct execution centers. And a person can literally be mobbed once they move into a city the same day. That's how coordinated these programs are. It's done to have an impact on all areas of your life, from your sleep, your sexual life, your social life. I mean everything. Even doctor's appointments, eating out with family. I've gone to places to spend $100 on a piece of steak, and no one's wearing a jacket. It just made a report to the police being followed around by people wearing jackets. So then I report these people coming in wearing jackets and earphones and both ears like Citizens Court. They do this to provoke a response. They're not about helping Americans. They're interested in harming Americans. Now, we've seen what happened to the guy, Omar Mateen, Pulse nightclub shooter. And he was being harassed. And what we did was to cover up what really happened. We blamed his past and all this stuff, his childhood. But the truth is that many people have bad childhood. Many people have made numerous mistakes.
Okay, guys. So if you want to see the rest of that, just go to gangstalkingmindcontrolcults.com, and then go to Gangstalking, and then go to this. Gangstalking is a government program, aka community policing, Citizen Corps, United Nations Agenda 21, New World Order, Joint Targeting, 6 YouTubes, 2017 through 18. Or just kind of get the link off of the screen. I'll try and put tomorrow. I'll try and put some of the links in this in the description. So I'll try and do that as much as I can. All right, guys. That was kind of a long one. I just want to, because I know I don't go over gang stalking a lot. I get vehicular stalking on on tape. The gang stalking is kind of leveled for me, and I just kind of ignored unless I'm getting documented evidence of it. And so my priority is mainly the neuro weapons and the directed energy weapons, which are just, burning out my nervous system, my adrenal glands, and everything like that. But this is important, because it all fits in together. Especially when they're using neuro weapons on us, and then they're trying to get reactions. And see what we're going to do if we're getting this kind of stimuli from gang stalking. And then it's many angles, it's many angles to the experimentation, feeds into like what we're experiencing with the gang stalking, but also people, are gang stalked because they want to keep putting money into these programs. So many different angles, a lot of people doing things for different reasons. And then it comes together as one big, huge structure is weeds. But yeah, that's all I want to go through tonight, guys. Thanks for coming, guys. Hey, Joanne, thanks for coming. I know I might just be doing some live streams because my computer, and I can't open the program that I just do videos on, that I record videos on and upload them. So I might be doing just live streams for a while until I can figure that out. Hey, thanks, guys. I love y'all. I hope y'all are doing good. I hope you're finding some defenses, grounding, Dave Case's CD, some good supplementation. I use CBD oil and kratom to, to edge off of all this. And that's about it. That's about it, guys, for tonight. But I'll definitely see you on the next one. And I hope that my hidden away because of playing Danny Goki or something like that. I will talk to y'all later. I love y'all. Just keep fighting. Just keep fighting. We're going to hear so much information out there. People, people are coming around. And, I just, we're making progress. We're making progress. But I love y'all. Keep fighting, guys.